Well, he ended by saying he felt that Manchester United were very unlucky. He started by saying he thought they were the better team today. What do you think?
I disagree that they were unlucky. You know, they give up 2 goals defensively. When you look over the last 2 games, 2 today, 4 against Bournemouth, that's not good enough. We praise them for what they're doing going forward. More of a goal threat, and again, Cunha missed a great chance maybe to get a point, and again, that would have been 2 goals for him. But the amount of chances and goals they're giving up, you're never really going to make big progress. That's all right for us, maybe a small club where you might be an entertaining club, but just you can still dig deep. They still have to find a way. And after the game, I've always felt as a player, I'd prefer the points than the praise. So there's no point coming out afterwards and saying, particularly at Man United, going, yeah, well, you know, we played really well, we were a bit unlucky. No, I'd rather come out and get, no, we weren't at our best, but I tell you what, we got the job done. And even United today, they can dig deep. They've got to be more intense when they're defending. They've got to be a bit more pride. I look at Dalot there, he getting interviewed after the game, and Dalot for the second goal, the intensity or his desire to stop a cross. And these are like big moments in a football match. It might be, again, it ends up being a poor cross, but Aston Villa, again, playing with confidence and believe, make the most of it, whereas United are just letting teams away with it. You can't give up 6 goals in 2 matches and stand there and expect to say we're going to get results. You're just making it really hard for yourselves. And they're up against it now with people like Bruno. OK, he's brought on a couple of younger players today. There's players away. And these are the challenges of playing for Man United. But you can also dig deep. You can also win playing ugly. You have to find a way to do that. Because there's no good turn. Part of football is when you're out of possession, and this team out of possession are nowhere near good enough. And I don't know where that intensity, that drive and belief is to try and get a result. I don't see it. Again, I've watched United today and watched them closely recently, and out of possession, I said it before the game, teams seem to create chances and goals far too easily. There has to be a pride in when you're a player for a team to say, we're going to be hard to beat. And they're not. I think it was 18 games they lost last year.
If they were better at possession.
Well, the great example there would be the second goal. Just go in with the players tomorrow and go, listen, we're up against Villa. We have a good record here, but obviously that can come to an end as well. Villa are doing well, and they've got moments that we saw Rodgers producing moments of magic. But let's make it a bit harder for them. For a great example, if you want to analyse football, look at Dalot here. Dalot the full-back. Look at Dalot. Look at that. And you tell me that's the intensity of a desire of a footballer to say you are not going to get a cross in. It's not as if somebody's done a brilliant trick or ran at him with real pace. They'd like to stand a full-back. It'd be different if it was a striker back. He's a full-back. You get down low. You get your body in position. And the football is about moments. Man United don't control too many games, to be honest with you. They're trying to pick moments. But after the bus, you forget the rest of the game. They would have been training all week. They would have had their pasta. They would have had their team talks. They would have come down to Birmingham last night. And then you got a full-back who doesn't want to stop across. There you go. There you go. And then the player comes out afterwards, and these are important players. These are international players. You're going, and you're talking about, well, we have to dig deep. No, you have to stop a cross. Or do your best to stop the cross. To me, he's not doing his best to stop a cross there. And these are defining moments in a game of football. And we could talk all day about all the other bits, the lovely, pretty parts. But United don't do the other bits really well in terms of rolling their sleeves up. They lost far too many games this year. This year is a little bit better from going forward as a team and being a goal threat. But you talk about any really decent team, you start about being hard to beat. We look obviously we're Arsenal at the moment, and you know it's hard to never mind get the goals, hard to get a chance. Just the last 2 games United conceded 6 goals. What chance have you got? You got Newcastle coming up in a few days. You know, Newcastle. They'll come to Old Trafford. They'll enjoy it. They'll have runners, and we'll see the desire of Man United there to try and get a result. Because you can have all the talent in the world. We mention it time and time again. But you got to roll your sleeves up, and when the game gets a bit tight or there's moments you go, I'm going to do my bit for the team. And there's too many players like Dalot who just don't do enough. I won't use the word cheating, but they're just not doing enough. And after the game, I'd be looking at him. I wouldn't be looking at the other bits of the game. I'm saying, are you going to stop it? Same for the first goal. Players, when Rodgers gets the ball wide in the first goal, we're all sitting there. We know there's danger. Do they not know there's danger? Are they a bit blasé going, do I have to do... Yeah, these are the ugly bits of football. When United out of possession, they're probably one of the worst teams in the league. In possession, of course, they're good. There's a threat. They could have scored 2 or 3 goals today. But unfortunately, part of being a footballer, particularly if you want to be a top footballer, is what you do out of possession. Everyone wants to talk about what you do in possession, what you do on the other side of it. And Man United cut corners and they take too many risks, and that's why they're getting punished. And I'm glad they get punished. I like teams getting punished who take chances. end up letting their teammates down, their supporters down, and their fans down. And after the game, they're very blasé in the interviews. I'd be looking at players and I'm thinking, they're like robots. They're like, oh, well, you know, we're a bit lucky, Bruno. No, find a way. Roll your sleeves up. They don't do that well enough, United.
And it's going to get harder for Manchester United because the report on Bruno that we heard there, as much as Ruben Amorim can say at the moment, this is the next 10 fixtures, so we don't know how much of this he's going to miss, but it came off with a soft tissue injury, and he said it's going to be a little while. But they've also got players who are going to be away with the Africa Cup of Nations. That could go. I mean, some like Mbermo, Mazraoui, Ahmad, and they potentially could get, if they get to the final, they'll be missing right up to the Manchester City game. So that's the length of time they could be away. So that plus another injury, plus players who were already missing out, means that they're kind of stretched a little bit. And then if you've got Kobbie Mainoo on the fringes, with everything that's going on with him, and then he misses out on the squad today with a late calf injury, it's starting to look a little stretched for Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, I think it is. And, you look at Bruno now missing for we don't know how long. He's been the best player for Manchester United for years now. If he's now out for 4, 5, 6 games, it's going to get even tougher. And like I say, the players that are going away to the African Cup of Nations as well. Now you start looking at the squad and you're relying on maybe the youngsters that come on today. They've got no experience. Of course, they need to get that experience, but where Manchester United are at as a club, you need to get wins on the board. And the next few games that they've got coming up, of course, Newcastle at home is going to be a tough game. I think we saw that they've got Wolves, they've got Burnley. No disrespect to them teams there, but they're games that they should be winning. But when you're looking at your squad now and you're thinking, well, have I got the players to adjust and be in them positions? It is going to be tough. And, you've got to get straight back on the training pitch now and work. And like Roy was saying, we said it before the game. Going forward, they've got players that can create chances and create something out of nothing. It's the opposite side. It's working hard. It's the intensity. It's the defending. And, we saw that on the 2 goals. We've been through it. Len Yoro could get out to the first one after Morgan Rogers' touch. You start to know players. You should know players. He's going to come back on inside on his right foot. And if you give him that much space and time, he could put the ball in the top corner like he did. The second goal is the same thing. It's Tielemans out there. You want to show him back up the pitch instead of letting him get a cross in. You're thinking, oh, maybe the cross won't amount to nothing, but it actually does. And, Ollie Watkins is on his front foot instead of Haven. Rogers gets a touch, he scores, and that wins the game. So it's the details of not when you're in possession, when you're out of possession, and the intensity and the work rate that you have to put in. And if you're not putting that in, you'll get punished like you did today.
And it means those comments that he made about young players, and he brought young player on today particularly, the comments that he made about them maybe being a little complacent and a little bit entitled in terms of expecting there to be a natural progress into the first team. It all feels a little bit more heightened when we hear comments like that about the senior pros, about the players who should be leading the line and should be the ones who are doing the work off the ball.
Yeah, and it's hard for young kids to come through. It's hard, they're playing against the rest of the world. They're not playing when we played. Now they're playing against kids from Brazil and all over South America where you can bring them in. So it's hard, but you want to bring these kids into good football teams. Do you know what I mean? When they make that jump, they've got to come into a team that's flying. Do you know what I mean? Like Arsenal, when you see Arsenal, when they bring Wanyeri on and Dauman, they're playing full of confidence. They look after the players. Bringing them players on now. I said to Ashley, as soon as Fletcher come on, first thing you should do when Fletcher comes on, give him the ball. Straight away, give him it, get him in the game. And it's not like that. They're all looking after themselves first, and that's why it's hard for these kids. But, yeah, they might have to go another way. It'd be up to the owners of the club. They might look at it and go, wait a minute, we want youth. We need youth in the team. We ain't got money to go and buy 60, 70, 80 million pound players. We've got to get these kids in, and the only way you can get them in and see if they are good is by keep on playing them. But, for me, what would it hurt playing the young kid Fletcher against Newcastle? What would it hurt? They're not winning the league. They might get top 4, I doubt it. So give these kids a chance. Give them a chance at home. Newcastle, you're playing against a very good midfield in Bruno and Tonali. Can only help, for me. So, yeah, but my big worry, when I see all them stats today, Man United, he made 1 save, I think, Martinez, and that was when Sesko should have put it over him. The other one, obviously, headed it wide. But for all them stats that were double more than Villa,
But the goals
didn't do anything.
Even the league table, the goals against compared to the other, and I don't mean the top teams, I'm on about the teams in the top 12 or 13. As a manager and the staff, they must be looking at the players, and you're not about bringing young players into a senior team, but you've got a proper good senior pros. Have United got that? I don't think they have. I don't think you have 6, 7, 8 top players who will drag these kids along. Absolutely not. So, yeah, sometimes you throw the kids in, but you're like, well, good luck in this team. You showed a clip earlier about Nev and all these lads when they came through, but they were coming into a top dressing room. Proper men who'd won titles and would help these kids out. I don't know if there's enough senior players at United. The evidence isn't there that they will help these young kids because everyone seems to be looking after themselves. And if they're cutting corners, like we saw today with some of the goals, then these are the habits these young lads will be seeing these senior players do. And that is such a bad example for these kids to have.
Well, if you're playing at home to Newcastle on Boxing Day and Martinez plays in front of Fletcher, if you're sitting there as a kid, you think, what's the point in being here? What's the point playing a centre-half as a centre midfield player when I'm coming through? You know, he can play. He's a good player. I've seen him play. Give him a chance. Give him a chance this weekend. What worst thing that can ever happen is he has a bad game, like most of them have every other week. So you're not losing anything, and it helps. The fans go home. They go, you know, well, at least we've got one of our youngsters coming through, and they see something. Can't keep on buying 50, 60, 70 million pound players, you know.
And when we see United losing, we will obviously look at excuses for United, but it's Aston Villa's day today. 2 world-class moments, a team that's on the up, a lot of momentum, a world-class manager. So it's thumbs up to Villa today, and maybe United will have to, again, reflect and have a look what they're doing and stop cutting corners.
And having said all that, Manchester United still only 3 points off the Champions League places. So not all doom and gloom necessarily. On Monday night, just an extraordinary game. Are there positive? I know Gary said at one stage during the game, look, regardless of what happens, I can live with this style of football. Are there positives, though?
There's certainly positives from United going forward. When you think of the goals last year, they were just barely about averaging above a goal a game. This year, it looks like it's just about 2 goals a game. So, yeah, clearly, they're a better package going forward. Of course, the concern is defensively, the goals they're giving up and the chances they're giving up. The teams against United seem to create chances very easily. It just seems to be 1 or 2 quick passes and they're in on top of the goalkeeper. And when you look where Villa are and the strength of them, and you look at United midfield, you'd like to think Villa will certainly get a bit of joy on the back of United's midfield and across United's back 3, back 5. But having said that, I do think United's attacking players can cause Villa problems today. So it could be anything today. But United, for all the positives going forward, defensively and midfield, I've still got huge question marks over them, and that tells you in the table. But when you look at the table, United still have the potential to have a very, very good season in terms of getting in the top 4 or 5. It's there for them. They just have to tighten up more at the back.
And if they win today, they're only 4 points off Aston Villa. And we're now talking about what a fantastic season that they're having at this stage. But for Manchester United, because of the reasons that Roy gave there about that kind of the defence and the protection of the defence from midfield, is that why maybe it doesn't feel quite so positive about Manchester United?
I think that's right. You know, we looked at the start of the season, we said about Manchester United, they wanted to be challenging and, you know, challenge for titles. Right now, it's difficult. You know, there's no way getting away from that. For the manager, I think that he hasn't really settled on his back 3. You know, I think you look at the game the other day, he's changing centre-backs in the second half of the game. And, you know, you don't really want to be changing your centre-halves unless one of them's injured. Your midfield, obviously, Casemiro's missing today. A guy comes in and Bruno Fernandez is playing there. The way Unai Emery wants to play, he wants to play with, you know, his wide men that come in behind that midfield. And, you know, Bruno Fernandez is... He's a creator. He wants to create goals. He wants to get assists. He wants to score. You know, his defensive side of things is not, you know, he's not great. He can do it, but you know, you want him to give that extra yard to get himself back into a defensive position. Aston Villa are going to look to get him behind that, and you know, like I say, it's going to be difficult. But then on the flip side, you look at Manchester United's attacking line. They can create, they can score goals, and you know, like Roy said, they can hurt Aston Villa today. So, you know, we could be in for anything today. But
Manchester United fans, as they always do, have been crying out for some of the younger players to make their way into the squad. And now Ruben Amorim has come out and he's answered a couple of questions around this and started off quite gently in the earlier days, saying they just need to be good enough and then they'll get their chance. But he's now started to talk about maybe a sense of entitlement amongst some of the younger players, that they feel that they deserve a place in the squad. Yeah,
you have to fight hard. We've said it managers before, when you've got young players at big clubs, They're, obviously, you've got the talent, but it's the other side of it, that mentality. And you've got to earn the right to play. When you get opportunities, you've got to take it. So maybe some of these younger United players that he's talking about haven't done enough for him. You have to build up that trust with the manager. Say, yeah, for all United's problems, there's not enough. If you're talking about Mainoo and people like that, they've obviously not got the trust of the manager yet. So you've got to build that trust. So when you go away from home in particular, and that manager's looking, can I trust this player to go out and do a job for Man United? Then you'll get your opportunity. But these lads obviously haven't built up that trust yet. And I do agree, a lot of young players now waltz around the place, think I've got this talent. But you need more than that. Especially if you're playing for the big clubs like Man United, it's a big responsibility. There's a lot of pressure, but you embrace that. Like we've seen with some of the new players who come into United. OK, they're not young players, but they've embraced that pressure. And the one or two young players coming through United, we've said it many times before, talent is not enough. It's what you do day in, day out on that training pitch. You earn the right to play for Man United, and you also have to earn the right to stay in the team. It's well and good getting in and getting an opportunity. You've got to take it, you've got to stay there and end up, hopefully, over the next 5-10 years, playing hundreds of games for Man United, and that comes from trust and belief in the manager.
Do you think there's an element of the fact that Manchester United's academy has been so successful and they have made so many successful careers from academy products that maybe there's a sense of expectation there that this will just happen naturally rather than players feeling that they have to put, as Roy says, the more practical elements in place?
Definitely. You look at Manchester United's academy over the years, they've produced time and time again. And, it's like what Roy's saying, that Manchester United, there's standards. And you've got to be consistent as well. You can't just expect that you've got talent that you're going to play. You've got to work hard, and that comes day in, day out. If the manager's looking at certain players that are younger and they're not, being consistent every day in training, you're not going to play at the weekend. There's players there that are probably training better than you that will be in the team. So it's Manchester United. It's a massive club. It's the biggest football club for me in the world, and standards are high. And if you're not going to them standards, then you're not going to play. So you have to be consistent. And when you get opportunities, whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, you've got to go and play well.
And even for these young players coming through, part of playing for Man United or any big club, you've got to show a bit of character and a bit of personality. The word we use is you've got to be consistent. You've got to get into really good habits. I know there's a lot of talk over the years about Scholesy and Butty and the Nevilles coming through and Becks and people like Giggsy. These were brilliant players, but brilliant characters. They dealt with pressure from young players. I know we've seen clips over the years when Alan Hansen said, you went out with young kids, but these were top lads. These were talented kids, and a great example to all the other young players coming through United. They had talent, but they worked their socks off. They were big personalities. They enjoyed the pressure of playing for Man United. They were happy to get the ball in front of 75,000 people and deal with that type of pressure. And clearly at this moment, these young players that the manager's talking about haven't reached that level yet. But hopefully over the next few months, years, they get that opportunity, they take it. But it's character and personality is key for me for a Man United player. And
you mentioned Kobbie Mainoo in particular, and he's not really been helped by the... we're not being helped by the people who are banging on the studio from outside. But Kobbie Mainoo's not been helped by the fact that his brother is wearing the T-shirt, and he's making him kind of the poster boy for the Manchester United young players who aren't sort of making it through to the first team.
Yeah, I mean, his brother, the first thing you do is ring up and go, what are you doing that for, straight away? Don't help him out. But something's happening, we only see him, we go, oh, Mainoo's a good player, why isn't he playing in front of Casemiro? But we're not we're not watching every minute of the day, when they're coming into training, how are they training? Are they dominating training? Is he much better than Casemiro in training, or is he just going through? And we never get to see that bit, do you know what I mean? And you have to trust the manager. If you're a fan of Man United, you've got to trust the manager and go, right, he must be seeing something that we're not seeing. And that's why he's not playing. And you've got to ask Mainoo that. I might be wrong and he might be ripping it up in training. The manager don't like him. Then the manager's got to look at himself and go, don't chop your nose off to spite your face.
But everyone thinks when a young player's not playing, they should go out on loan and do something else. But I've said it before, the biggest challenge is right in front of you. A few years ago, Phil Foden was on a regular at Man City, and everyone was saying, Foden needs to go out on loan. And Pep said, no, he's going to stay here. He's working with top-class players day in, day out. And this is where he's going to learn his trade. He doesn't have to go to another club. And it's almost the same for these young players at United. The biggest challenge is the one right in front of you. Don't worry about other clubs. If it doesn't work out, yeah, you can move, of course.
Yeah, I agree. You shouldn't want to go on loan. He's playing at Man United. Ashley said, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Not the biggest team, but one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've seen it, a prime example here with Harvey Elliott. He leaves Liverpool to come on loan to play football and he don't play. So stay at the club, fight for your place. Easy option going, oh, let me go out on loan. If I get taken on loan, that means I'm playing every week. You know, he's got to be fighting to get in Man United. When you leave Man United, you're only going that way. You're not going, you know, he's not going Real Madrid. I don't think so.
I think when you're a professional footballer, nobody should guarantee you're going to play week in, week out. Nobody should be given the guarantee, no matter how good you are. You've got to earn the right week in, week out. Not to say, I'm going to go out on loan and play 10, 15, 20 games, and then clubs under pressure to play you. No, again, if you're playing for Man United, if you have to sit in the bench for 4, 5, 6 months, then do it. Learn and look at other players and what you do day in, day out. Get into really good habits. And a lot of these younger players, unfortunately, I think have got into really bad habits.
Mariah Carey, all love actually, because we offer you the Gary Neville podcast, which comes to you live this Christmas time from a buoyant Villa Park, off the back of a wonderful win for Aston Villa, in the context of the fact, Gary, that it was their 10th on the spin and that they hit Christmas 3 points off the top of the Premier League. What did you make of it?
What a run they're on, and to win 10 on the run for any club at any time is really outstanding. And they weren't at their best today in the game, but they're a solid group with a couple of excellent players, one very special player that we'll talk about, I'm sure, shortly. Yeah, today they weren't at it. I thought that Manchester United disturbed them in the first half, playing slightly differently with the system. I expected Villa to control midfield because they usually have Carragher in there, they had Onana, then you always have Rodgers dipping in there, McGinn dipping in there, Tielemans. So I was thinking they were going to have 5 in really narrow, like Unai Emery sometimes goes with, and that they would really outnumber Ugarte and Bruno Fernandez. But the way in which Ruben Amorim set up, packed the midfield, and like you say, that just nullified Villa. It took them quite a bit to work the game. I never actually thought that they played well at any point in the match compared to how they ordinarily would play. But when you've got a special player who's in form, who can score goals of the quality that he did, then you've always got a chance. I just heard a little bit of Roy Keane and Paul Merson talking in the studio about how sometimes when basically you don't play well as a team and you don't function, which can happen, another team does well against you, that you just need your special players and your great players to stand up, and that's what's happened today. But what a run for Villa. They find themselves 3rd in the league at the start of the season. They were in disarray, it felt. You felt, well, is this the drop-off? Is this the end of Unai Emery? There were moments where you're thinking, where's this going? Question marks over Morgan Rodgers. Why are you playing so well for England and not playing for us? And all of a sudden it's just turned around. It's turned around sensationally for them, and they go into Christmas Day in a fantastic position, only a point off Manchester City, 3 off Arsenal, and looking very, very promising. 7 points ahead of Chelsea in 4th, and that's a big gap. No, there's a long way to go, but Villa looking like they're in a great position to achieve Champions League football.
Well, let's talk about Morgan Rodgers then, because this is the sort of conversation people love to have in the pub over Christmas. The top English players in the Premier League, and I wrote myself down a little list, everybody knows them all. Rodgers, Foden, Eze, Palmer, Dewsbury Hall, Jared Bowen perhaps. Declan Rice plays a different, maybe bigger position, but where in the great scheme of all that are you putting Morgan Rodgers? Yeah,
and look, you said there Premier League, but it's worth mentioning Bellingham and
Bellingham
Kane
as well, of course.
Obviously, Bellingham fits into that sort of position. It's a real conundrum for Thomas Tuchel as the sort of months get nearer to the World Cup. Look, Rodgers is he's good in a lot of areas. One, I think he can play wide, he can play central, he can receive the ball on the back foot, he's got good awareness, he can go past someone with the ball. Very few players can beat players in central areas of the pitch and receive it on the back foot. So for me, he's a very special player, but so is Foden, so is Bellingham, so is Palmer, all of them, Eze. They're all sensational, they really are. They're at the very, very top of the game. There would be a time whereby you would struggle as an England team squad to produce one of those players, maximum 2. We've got 4 or 5 there that I think would get into a lot of first teams globally from a point of view of international teams. They really are sensational players, and they're admired by international teams. They're admired by international players because of their technical ability, their tactical understanding. And what we've seen here today from Rodgers is, I mean, I actually didn't say it, but you're thinking at one point in the first half, 40 minutes in, we haven't seen him at all. He's just sort of stood out there on that left wing, been invisible because, to be fair, United were dominating the ball. Villa didn't get the ball through midfield as they thought they would do and sort of feed him, and there was nothing happening. But that's, I think, where you really think about the good players and the top players, because they can get it and they can basically change a game in an instance. And I think we've used the tag game changer, difference maker. That's what he's been today out here. And I've got a lot of time for those players. I played with a lot of those players during my football career, and you're so grateful for them. You know, if you're Matty Cash, who's a right back today, and you've made that mistake just before half time, you're going in at the end of that game and you're giving him one hell of a massive hug, trust me, and saying thank you. And you're really holding on to him because you know full well, you know, he saved you a miserable night. He saved you a miserable, and that happened to me quite a bit, where you make a mistake or you've conceded a couple of goals as a defensive unit, but your top players that you absolutely know can sort of pull something out of the hat do so. And Morgan Rogers has done that today, I think, in the first half and in the second half. Two very special moments. The second goal was good because he basically was on the move. He's imagined that something's going to drop to him. So that ball gets played in by Tielemans. Watkins makes a good run across the near post and he just disrupts Aiden Heaven. And then it's about who's alive, who's alert. And I've got a bit of sympathy for Yoro on that one, the second one, because I think that's one whereby he was alert, but Rodgers just gets there just a touch earlier than him. And it's a difficult one. I think that Dalot should have done better to stop the initial cross with Tielemans. So I've got a bit of sympathy with Yoro, but Rodgers is on the move. He's hunting in positions and in spaces where he thinks something might happen, something could come alive for him. And then the finish, you just know it's, I mean, we're right behind that one. It's absolutely perfect. The first goal, I've got less sympathy for Lenny Yoro because I actually thought it as the ball went over his head, and it was a sort of difficult one for him to control, and it runs towards the touchline. And I'm thinking, as Rodgers has turned his back and he's running towards the touchline, Yoro, get after him like that. Get after. I'm like, sprint, like harass him, hurry him. And the one thing, if you're Morgan Rogers, Peter, and I'm Lenny Yoro, you have to stand on the point of his right foot where you know he can't go in there across you. So you can't just say, you know, show him down the line and let him go across you and go in there. So you have to show him so you're there, knowing he can't go back on his right foot because that's what he wants to do, but also where you're not showing him enough whereby he basically goes in that space there. So you're always threatening his right foot, thinking, go on, go that way, and you're guiding him down the line. And Lenny Yoro didn't do that. He didn't do that. It was a big mistake, that, in the game, I think, for him. And look, he's a young defender. He'll pick it up. But yeah, I was surprised. I think if you're doing your homework before the match and you're a right-sided centre-back that's going to go out there and end up in the right-back position, which he did there the other night against Semenyo for Bournemouth. He's played that role twice now, Lenny Yoro, where he's had to go out there almost as a right-back. You've then got to think about, before the game, what's my picture of the match? What's the match look like? And I used to think, who am I playing against? And I remember getting done by David Ginola at Newcastle. He could go both ways, Ginola. He had a left and a right foot. And I was cutting off his left foot, thinking he's going to go that way. And he went back on his right and he swung it into the far corner. And you think, I've got done. And so it happens. It happens to everybody. But I just thought Yoro could have made it a lot harder for Morgan Rogers. And he's predictably going to go on his right foot. He's not two-footed in the sense that he's going to go on his left and sort of swing one in too much. So, yeah, I thought it was a brilliant game for Rogers. In a performance that wasn't them anywhere near their best, but they put themselves into a great position in the league, and 10 wins on the trot is fantastic for Unai Emery. And look, their manager is top class. The difference we're talking about, and the reason that Villa are up there, the reason that Arteta's up there is he's built a squad over 5 years, and then you've got the two best managers in the league in Pep Guardiola and Unai Emery, and managers make a massive difference, and Unai Emery is a difference maker. We'll talk about the difference maker of Morgan Rogers, but their manager is a different level.
From Manchester United's point of view, a lot of the game, you were actually with them and enjoying what they were doing, and the numbers certainly stacked up in their favour before the goals began to be scored. And they were playing today without the guys who've just gone to Africa, 3 significant first-team players, and Casemiro suspended. He'll be back for Boxing Day. And then without Bruno Fernandez for the whole of the second half, which makes them look thin, doesn't it? I mean, this is a concern for the next 3 weeks, month or so. Yeah,
Manchester United have just picked up 1 point in out of 6 in 2 games, but I'm actually quite energised by what I've seen, and I think that goes to show I do feel performance really matters in football, and I think the way in which you play really matters. And I said I could come off that game against Bournemouth on Monday where there was some really bad goals conceded, but but I can live with watching that all day long, where there's a real sort of purpose going forward, and there's a real threat, and there's a real sort of, if you like, entertainment and style to the game. Similarly here today, I thought they were very good, Manchester United. I thought it was a really good performance, but the details of the 2 goals have cost them. Now, that's going to continue to happen whilst they don't have the likes of Maguire and De Ligt, and they don't have players, to be fair, that would make them a lot stronger. I don't think they're anywhere near good enough to get into that top 3. But what I have seen in these last 2 games are a couple of things. One, the manager has changed. Quite obviously, the system that he said he would never change, the 5 or the 3, the 2 in midfield, the 2 wing-backs, and the 3 up front, the 1 up top, and then the 2 narrow forwards. That has been thrown out of the window in the last 2 matches. We've seen that change. That's a good thing. He's still playing principally with some of the same sort of what would be patterns that Manchester United have played with under him, but very differently today. He had Bruno Fernandez and Mason Mount in front of Agate, and he pushed Dalot on further on that side, and he had Cunha and Sesko. The other night was very different, again, with Ahmad playing higher up and Yoro out as a right-back, and it looked like a 4-4-2 at the end. So I'm happy that the manager is adapting to what's happening out there because of what's happening with AFCON, but also I think there's just an element of, I don't think he could carry on as we saw against West Ham and Everton at home. More of that West Ham and Everton is going to find the manager in a lot of trouble. More of what we've seen between Bournemouth and Villa is going to find the manager in a job, and to be fair, allowed to build something, because you can build off what you've seen here today. I thought the first half, they were by far the better team. I thought they really were good, and actually, surprisingly, I thought they were actually, with Martinez in midfield in the second half, I actually thought they were the equal of Villa as a minimum, and Cunha should score. Cunha should score with that. That should be 2-2, that game. That should not be a game that Manchester United lose. Sesko has a great chance in the first half, which, again, I think he should score. So I think that if you're here today, as if you're Amorim sort of at the end of the game doing his interview, we've not seen it yet, I think he'll be really disappointed. But I think privately he'll think, right, OK, I can build off what I've seen in the last week. I think they can. And I've been one of the biggest critics when I've seen them play against Everton and West Ham. I think that's a load of rubbish, that is stale, boring, what I call nonsense football, leaving 3 at the back against 1 when you're 10 men against 10 men. However, I think what they've done in these last 5 days, 6 days, I think I can more than live with. I think they've been good performances. What they have to do now is get the defenders back. They obviously have to get Ahmad and Mbeumo back from AFCON, and that's going to be a good few weeks. Losing Bruno Fernandez, that was just a shock, wasn't it, to all of us, because he just plays all the time. He's ever present. So it is going to be hard for them in this next few weeks because of what's happening and the circumstances of their 2 best centre-backs, their best central midfield player, and maybe out for a few weeks. It looked like he'd done his hamstring. And 2 of their best forwards, Mbeumo and Ahmad, out. So that's going to be challenging for them. But if they can get them back in January, Manchester United can still finish in the top 5. And I will say that, to be fair, because they've turned down or missed 3 or 4 opportunities in the last 3 weeks to get into that top 5. But I do think if they can get those players back and they can stay fit, they can do something. But I think if Ruben Amorim's got to approach it with the way in which he has in this last 5 or 6 days, that system has been tweaked, more than tweaked in the last 5 or 6 days. And I think with Mount, Cunha, Fernandez, Sesko and Mbeumo, Ahmad out there on the pitch, probably not all of them, but probably 4 or 5 of them, Manchester United will cause a lot of teams a lot of problems.
And until they get back, I noted during the second half how often you were complimentary about Lisandro Martinez playing in midfield. I mean, didn't he play well? And can he not play a really important role, at least for the next month?
Yeah, at half-time, maybe I was thrown by the fact that when Bruno Fernandez initially went down with his hamstring, he pulled up with his hamstring just here, he sent Xerxes out, didn't he, the manager, to warm up. And I thought, yeah, I think that's right. Xerxes can drop in. And I liked the idea of having Mason Mount and Xerxes behind Sesko, and Xerxes and Sesko being potential threats from crosses, running into the box. And maybe Mount just dropping back a little bit and playing deeper alongside Agate. When I saw that Martinez came on, I thought, how are United going to get a goal? How are they going to really pose a threat? Now, they didn't really pose a threat other than that one chance that Cunha had, but it was a massive chance, by the way. I would have liked to have seen, I think, the two Mount and Xerxes off Sesko with Cunha floating in and around them. He didn't go for it, but you're right. I think that Martinez, when he came on in that holding position, Villa didn't put any real pressure on him, but I thought he was good on the ball. I thought he was tidy. He did a good job in there. Maybe that's something that's going to have to happen. Maybe Casemiro will be back as well, so I don't think we'll see him probably in there too much, but it's potentially something that Amorim could do in an emergency if it happens over the Christmas period. But yeah, it's been a frustrating last few weeks for United. I think that the big chance against Everton, missed it. Big chance against West Ham to go fifth, missed it. Today was a chance to go fifth again, but I don't think it was a big chance missed because it was Villa away on a great run above them. I don't think anyone was expecting United to win here today. I think that feeling was a point would be a great result, and I think they've played quite well in the game and should have got a point out of it.
So, Gary, now with Arsenal and Manchester City having won yesterday, we've got Arsenal 39, City 37, Villa 36, and then a 7-point gap. Of the chasing pack, Liverpool were the only winners. Right down to the next, I think, were Brentford in 12th. Surprisingly, there were a few draws in there. So are you now drawing a line beneath those three?
Yeah, I mean, I'm drawing a line beneath, to be fair, the top two. I think Villa are there and they should be respected, but they're not going to win the league. I'd be amazed. A lot would have to go wrong for Arsenal and City, for Aston Villa to win the league. I look at the league, it's bizarre. I mean, not bizarre in the top two, but just bizarre beneath it in terms of what's happening. You're not sure what's going to happen each week. I thought the game I did last night, Liverpool-Tottenham, was a really strange game. I mean, obviously it was impacted enormously by ill discipline. It probably in some ways, not helped Tottenham, but it galvanised their crowd a little bit, not against the referee, but I came away from that game last night. I mean, the referee, I don't think was amazing, but I don't think he had a bad game with regards to the big decision. I didn't come off thinking the referees impacted that game as much as the actual ill discipline of Tottenham's players. Simmons' challenge was a poor one, and Romero, I mean, he's like Captain Chaos. The minute he gave that goal away, just for the next half an hour, was just a walking time bomb around the pitch. But like you say, that City are dangerous. They've got Haaland, and they've got Pep Guardiola, who are someone very special on the pitch and someone very special, obviously, on the bench. And that is the biggest threat to Arsenal, other than them getting injuries to, say, Declan Rice or a couple of other players. But Arsenal, I think, I wouldn't be too worried about the fact that they've scraped through these last couple of games. I think that happens. Yeah, they weren't great at Everton last night, but were they ever going to be amazing there? I mean, I thought they could have gone 2-0 up as well and made it a lot more comfortable for themselves. I think Arsenal are in a good position. What's going to be really interesting is how they handle it once they get to March, April, May. That's when it's going to be really interesting. But I think coming out of the new year, I feel like going into February, March, Arsenal will extend their lead, is my honest view. I think they'll get to 5-6 points again. I feel it's their year. I feel that they were always going to get maybe closed down a little bit by City. And I might be completely and utterly embarrassed by the fact that Pep Guardiola and Haaland and co could go and win the league again, because I know City fans are getting quite confident. I speak to a few of them and they're thinking it's their year. They're thinking, here we go, we're close to them, they're going to bottle it come March, April, May. But I'm not sure this Arsenal team will bottle it this time.
The other team I wanted to pick out, I don't know why really, I think maybe because you've spoken to me about them a bit recently and you've watched them a bit recently, is Leeds, who maybe had the standout result of the weekend. I mean, nobody beats Palace 4-1. And they've given them a right good bruising, and they're creating a gap ahead of that bottom three.
Yeah, I did those games. Going into that week, it was City they had, didn't they, on the Saturday, and then they had Chelsea, and then they had Liverpool. And that was the week where you were thinking the manager, the coach, could be under real pressure and potentially lose his job. And they could be cut adrift, and they could be really well down there. I mean, what a turnaround. The change of system, which I think happened in the last 25 minutes against City. They then played it against Chelsea, which was a big night. It was almost like a turnaround game for the club, the entire club. And then obviously against Liverpool, that was a memorable sort of game in respect of how it sort of flowed back and forward and the resilience to stay in the match in the late goals. I think Leeds have got a real chance. I had Burnley, Wolves and Leeds to go down at the start of the season. I think I'll be right with Burnley and Wolves. I'm not so sure I'm going to be right with Leeds, because they've got something that I think that, again, this is dependent upon them keeping 2 or 3 players fit. I think Ampadu's important for them, and I think that Calvert-Lewin's important as well. The 2 wing-backs are important, Bogle and Goodmanson. I think they're really sort of energised down that sort of, you can't just find wing-backs left, right and centre to do the job that those two do. So I think for me, Leeds have got a real hope. Their manager, I think, now gains strength through coming out of it, and they're starting to pick up their performances and make Ellen Road a place that you would expect it to be when they're in the Premier League, which is somewhere where, teams don't want to go to because they know they're going to have a rough ride, and they're making it that way.
And it's really interesting down there because a lot of people are saying West Ham will be all right because Nuno won't go down, and Forest will be all right because Daishi doesn't go down, and actually Monday Night Football tomorrow is a really important game. Fulham and Forest are either side of Leeds in that sort of bottom 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. So that narrative is going to be a really interesting one to follow.
I think that West Ham, Fulham, Forest, I think they'll be looking at Leeds, and they should be looking at Leeds and thinking, that's making me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I think they would have looked at Leeds 3 or 4 weeks ago like I was. Burnley and Wolves, they'd have been looking at and thinking they're just sort of, if you like, they're tanking. And they'll be looking at Leeds and thinking, well, they'll go with them and we should be able to be okay. But I think they'll be looking at Leeds and the levels of performance, what they're doing, their results, picking up points against Chelsea, Crystal Palace, nearly against Manchester City and Liverpool. Well, did against Liverpool, but nearly against Manchester City as well. And thinking, oh, this is a bit uncomfortable. This is a bit awkward. This is not what we expected. So they need to really shape up those other clubs, because if they think they can't go down, I mean, none of them will be thinking that. The fans won't be thinking that. I mean, there's no fans in the Football League that can be conned. They know what their team looks like. They're not going to feel sort of, if you like, relaxed at all if you're in those sort of seats at sort of the London Stadium or at the City Ground or at Craven Cottage. They're going to feel a little bit sort of disrupted as they go into their Christmas dinner.
Yeah. Do you have any further business?
No, not really. I thought yesterday watching Chelsea and Newcastle was quite interesting. I watched that as I came down to London for the Tottenham-Liverpool game. I thought there was a penalty on Gordon, the one by Chalobah where he barged him. I mean, something sometimes so obvious whereby you can sort of start thinking, it was a crazy challenge. I thought that was a bit unlucky. Watching Chelsea in the first, that's interesting thinking about Maresca. And it's really obvious that Maresca is a fantastic coach, isn't it? And it's really obvious that there is a group of players who are really young, who have got fantastic potential. And I just wonder whether Maresca would just change the model slightly. He's been brought in to work with these players, but you do need an experienced spine. You watch Chelsea sometimes. You watch Chelsea in the first half, and they look a little bit like an academy team that are playing in a participation game. That it's not really a serious, aggressive, horrible fixture. And then you watch them in the second half, and they look like they're a thrill. And you can see that with Chelsea, because that's what you get with young players as well, who maybe haven't got that sort of physical experience and that maturity. You watch them sometimes and look, they are youthful and they look youthful and they play youthful. And the manager, to be fair, plays that way as well. But if you had just some more experience down that spine and some higher quality in certain positions, they would be a very different proposition. It's almost like there is a sort of young manager who's fantastic, who maybe needs experienced players, and there are a group of young players who need an experienced manager. It's a bit like almost they've got sort of young, and it's sort of, yeah, I mean, they're doing well together, they're travelling well together, but I just get the feeling they're not going to get to where the ownership want. And it's not the fault of the manager or the players. I think they should have built a squad to win now. And I think they've built a squad to grow. But the problem is that you grow and then you're never quite there, because the other teams are cold-hearted killers at times. The likes of Pep Guardiola and sort of Arsenal look like they're getting towards that sort of way of becoming really horrible and resilient and tough to break down, and they've got beasts in there. And Chelsea needs some beasts, and you think of the teams that Chelsea had with the likes of Terry and Makelele and Lampard and Drogba and Diego Costa. They were battering rams. They were massive physical presences and leaders and big presences, and they haven't got. They just need. It's easy saying.
Maybe they would say they're on the road to that.
They're on the road to that, but I don't see the players in the centre forward position or the centre back position or the goalkeeper position being those characters. I think they're going to have to intervene and help them and give them sort of what would be a spine of sort of real fierce physical characters that gives those young players the ability just to feel like they're safe on. You go to Newcastle away, And I travelled there as a 20-year-old into Anfield. You need people alongside you in that spine of your team that can hug you and cuddle you and get you through it. You know what I mean? It's from a football perspective. You know, I had Bruce and Pallister, I had Keane and Ince, I had Hughes and Cantona when I first came in. You imagine how safe you feel as a young player. Those Chelsea young players don't have that safety of that spine. They just don't, and I think they need that. I'm not saying they need all 6 of those, but they need, you know, one in each position. I don't think they've got it. Maybe midfield they have, but not in the other areas. So, yeah, just interesting watching them. Yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm watching them and I feel like it's quite frustrating because you feel like they could be further ahead. And Newcastle, I mean, they played so well in the first half. Again, you know, such a difference to what they were last weekend against Sunderland. But, yeah, it wasn't to be. They fell away in the second half. They overrun them in the first half and then fell away in the second.
Gary, you've been fighting that cold.
I have, for 2 weeks.
It's time you went and wrapped up at home and had a lovely warm Christmas with your family.
Yes, thank you.
Good on you.
Little cough there on the cue. Thank you.
Happy Christmas.
The club that will be remembered for a couple of unbelievable moments delivered by your right foot. What does it mean to decide and light up a game like this?
Yeah, it's massive. Every game's important against no bigger team than United. They come here to play and they're a tough team to play against. We've not had a great record against them recently, so we knew we wanted to put it right, and yeah, we're just really happy with the 3 points.
So you've done the whole end, sharing the moment with the supporters. Is it just like the best bit about being a footballer, just those few seconds after a goal or after a win like that where you get to have that moment?
Yeah, the fans make football. Playing with no fans or playing with fans is 2 completely different sports. It's so enjoyable playing here. We've got the crowd behind us. We're really strong at home, and you can see in our performances. So, yeah, each and every one of them, they come here every game and make it a great place to play.
I tell you what, just looking at your goals today, you don't half make it look easy. Does it just come very naturally to you, or do you work on it again and again in training?
Yeah, it's hard work. It's long hours. You want everyone to go in the top corner like that. So it's nice when it does go in. Yeah, you just got to keep trying and trying. Sometimes it's your day, sometimes it isn't. And luckily lately it's been my day, which I'm happy about. So.
And it has been your day an awful lot. I was sat right behind the first one, and it just looked like there just wasn't a shred of doubt in your mind, like it was only going one place. Is that kind of where you're at with your form right now? It just feels almost like you feel unstoppable.
Yeah, I'm feeling really confident. I'm enjoying my football, but not just me, it's the team. The team's performances, the team give me that confidence, give me that belief and allow me to be me, and that's the most important thing, and team performances are getting us the wins, not just me. So yeah, big game, big win.
And you're right at the top table of English talent right now, battling for your place in the England team with some unbelievable footballers. How much does that drive you on, just wanting to be the best of the best?
Yeah, massively. That's why I play football. I play football to try and fulfil my potential and be the best version of myself as possible, and I try my hardest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I live with the results. But yeah, I just keep working hard, and wherever it takes me, it takes me.
Yeah, and hard to sort of not think about the title after a run like this, or at least being in that battle to the end.
We'll let everyone else make that.
We'll have a go at that.
Yeah, you make them conversations, not us. We're firmly focused on what our tasks at hand in each game.
Well played today, unbelievable. Player of the match.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Fan now, because Spurs, of course, ended the game with 9 men as they lost their heads slightly in this game tonight. Oh dear. Okay, so Banks is the Spurs fan who's rubbing his head.
Banksy, what's happening, mate?
And Lewis is the Liverpool fan. Good to see you both. We've got to start with you, Banks. I mean, what happened to your team tonight?
What happened is you saw us progressively get better the less people we had on the field. And it's just really stupid that as soon as Frank's tactics go out the window, our individual players start playing quite decently. I'm not saying we deserve to win, and I'm not here to talk about the referee performance because we all have eyes. We just seem to be a better team when Frank's not in control.
Hang on, you said, well, yeah, go pick up on the referee.
What are you saying there, Banksy? I need to know what you're saying there.
What I'm saying is that I feel like the more tactical control that Frank has on the game, sort of the worse we become. We seem to thrive off situations where balls are in the air, you know, we're going up against it, we're against the wall. It's sort of like the players take it into their own hands. So I feel like once we went down to 10, once we went down to 9, Frank's tactics went out the window. We started to look quite decent.
Whoa, that's quite scathing on Thomas Frank, I think. Look, I've
tough.
got to bring you in, though, Lewis, as a Liverpool fan. Wasn't a comfortable performance against 10 men, nor 9 it sometimes.
No, do you know what? It got worse and worse. But it was a jeopardy. as soon as we had something to lose, I was just getting the Leeds match over again. I was starting to feel a bit panicky. But to be fair, they only decided they wanted to play in maybe the last 15 minutes. If they would have started like that, who knows what would have happened. But you can't just park the bus for 15 minutes, for 75 minutes at home, and then try and stoke us in the last 15 minutes and think you're going to get a result.
Lewis, obviously Isak scored today, but then he's gone off. It looks like a bit of a serious injury. I mean, it was a great finish. And to be fair, Ekitike, Wirtz, and then obviously Isak to finish off. It was a good link-up play between the three. But then obviously he's gone off with an injury now. I mean, how unfortunate is that?
I'm gutted for him, because obviously Ekitike has been gathering momentum and everyone's like, oh, but Isak's supposed to... And then he done his job. He came... It was a great goal. Obviously, they gave the ball away, but the interplay, Wirtz has got him in for his first Premier League assist. Isak slapped it. They've come with a late tackle. Obviously, Van der Ven's trying to stop the goal, so it is what it is. And then he's injured. So hopefully it's not keeps him out for too long, because it feels like every time he just starts to get rolling, something happens against him.
Yeah, I want to bring you back in, Banks, because we discussed it. Xavi Simons, I mean, did you think that was unfortunate for him to see red for that?
It's not unfortunate. We all have eyes. It's, the referee certainly had a performance, but that was something that, we could all see. It's not something that I can argue.
What, do you think it was a red card? Sorry, Banksy.
No, not at all. No, sorry. I do think it was a red card. I just also think that it's sort of, the atmosphere of the game. I've seen that challenge. I've seen yellows given for that challenge. It is inconsistent, but at the same time, we all have eyes. It's a red card at the end of the day.
I mean, listen, I know the rules, and by the letter of the law, that's the reason why he's been given a red. I do not think for 1 minute that Xavi Simons is going to try and injure his captain for the Netherlands. I do not think that. But my problem is with Romero. Romero is an experienced defender. Okay, he's lost his head. He's kicked out at Konate. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because that's going to cost Tottenham. He's one of the best defenders in the Premier League. There's no doubt about that. When he's on form, he's one of the best defenders. Now he's going to be out, and he could face further charges as well, because it was, he's kicked out. He's kicked out. I don't know if he got a straight red or a yellow card, but he might face further charges.
We've had this conversation back and forth, me and you, for the last few months about how good our defenders are. And I've actually never entertained that with you. I've never actually believed that our defenders, they've had a lot of superlatives thrown their way throughout the season. Van der Ven and Romero, they've had a lot of praise given to them, a lot of shouts that they're some of the best defenders in Europe, some of the best defenders in the country. I've never fully entertained that, because anytime they get a bit of superlatives, they tend to play the next few games really angry. We saw that with Van der Ven last week. He was playing really angrily. And today with Romero, he's just lost his head. And, I'm not surprised that players like Xavi are sort of getting sent off for, angry reactions and angry fouls. If that's what the captain's doing, of course it's going to start rubbing off.
Thanks. I'm going to stop you right there. Lewis, in one word, are Liverpool back in the title race? One word.
No.
Hi, guys. Guys, we have the visiting manager waiting, so we're going to be a little bit shorter than usual. If you can please keep it to single questions each, we'll get round as many of you as we can. Who wants to start us off, please? Damien.
Eddie, so much to be pleased with there, but it's tinged with disappointment. Please didn't get the win.
Tinged with huge disappointment for us, because I think we're really disappointed for the players. We deserve to win that game, in my opinion anyway. The only disappointment I think from that first half, because I think it's the best we've played, was that we weren't further ahead. Had the chances, played with real energy and intensity and quality. Great to see us creating the big moments in the penalty box, and obviously huge disappointment where we haven't won the game with the effort we've given.
Okay, we go to Dominic, Lee and Chris, please.
Big disappointment with a couple of penalty falls go against you. What was you for?
Yeah, I thought the Anthony Gordon one was the standout one for me. I think anywhere else on the pitch, that's a blatant free kick. When it went to VAR, and of course they check everything, I thought this is going to be overturned. It's a clear error, because that's a clearer penalty as I've seen. I think the defender only focuses on Ant. They've said it's shielding, but I don't agree with that analysis. So really disappointed that wasn't given.
Lee?
Yeah, and what has to happen these days to get a penalty? Been a few times this season, but the rules just don't seem to be like perfect. I know you can't take two.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't think that's for me necessarily to critique. Just this one decision, I think, was wrong, and I think that's where VAR really should intervene. And yeah, that's a difficult one to work out because seeing it live, I thought it was clear.
So, Chris.
Eddie, it's now 10 games without a clean sheet in the Premier League. That's the longest run during your tenure. How frustrating is that? Because obviously you build another lead and then you let it slip. Yeah,
it's a big disappointment. I think we've found ways to concede even when we've looked defensively stable in that run of 10 games, and it's a disappointing return, really. Today, our defending in the first half was very strong. I think that followed our sort of general performance. I think the second half, the free kick changes the feeling and momentum of the game and gives them renewed hope, and it's a standout moment from Reece James. And it's those type of things that are affecting us, even though it shouldn't really. It's still at 2-1. We're still the dominant team, and but then Chelsea came back into it, and we're disappointed because even at 2-2, I think we have chances to win, which we didn't take.
Thanks, Chris. I've got to Craig, Keith, and then to Kieran, please.
With all the focus is obviously on the second half, 2-0, 2-2, but Lee Follow's response in the first half in the derby, there's some of that actually trace back to the reception he got around Wednesday night as well. Just some of it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he felt the love and support from the supporters on Wednesday. That was a big moment for him. I thought it was a really good performance from Nick today. I think that's the best he's played for us. I think he looked really good athletically, pressed really well, helped us deliver that really impressive pressing performance. If the number 9 and the first man who sets that doesn't deliver it, the whole thing falls apart. Took his goals brilliantly, especially the second one, which isn't an easy finish. I'd probably say the only disappointment for him is he doesn't get a hat-trick, really.
Keith?
Do you think in any way there's I think they're in the club. I know that game was one of those games where HBC are in one off. It's happened quite a few things. I guess there's like.
Yeah, look, I have to accept the questions on this will keep coming. I don't think it is. Of course, when something keeps occurring, it'd be foolish of me to wipe it away and say no, it doesn't exist. So we are doing work on things. We are doing our best to help the players in every way that we can when we're in that situation again. But sometimes the more you emphasise it, the more you highlight it, the worse the problem can get. So we're stuck in that very delicate balance where I don't want it to be the sole focus when we're playing the game. We've just got to play, and we've just got to execute what we need to do well. And I think it's only through winning games that it will go, and I think it will go quite quickly. But we have to accept that that's what's happened this season, and it's really hindered us. It's really cost us.
Thank you. Kieran's Finfield?
Yeah, just following up, I think it's 13 points, which in positions are quite big. A difficult season, I believe, can get hold of.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, there's so many things you could say that if this and if that. The reality is we haven't done it, and today again, it's a hollow feeling for us because we've played so well, but we only get a point for our efforts. But we're still, I think, going in the right direction. The Sunderland game apart, the last group of games since the international break, when we returned and beat Manchester City, has been a real upturn, in my opinion, in terms of performances. And I think if that continues at the rate that it is, I think we'll be absolutely fine, and we'll be in a really good place. But we're having, every time we're stepping forward, we're just getting knocked by ourselves, and we have to try and end that trend.
Thank you, everyone. See you on Tuesday. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot. No, thank you. It's all about how you too. Have a good one. You too. Cheers, guys.
Paul, I'll start with you. I mean, do you think he's kind of made his point? Because he did go through that really kind of tough start where, you know, some Arsenal fans online creating a petition to have the club not sign him. How do you think he's fared so far?
I think he's been absolutely outstanding. I'm a big Chelsea fan. If there was one player I would have sold at the start of the season from Chelsea, it would have been him. I never see him hardly have one good game at Chelsea. He never went past players, very hot and cold. But since he's been at Arsenal, he's been a revelation. He's been absolutely unbelievable. Played different ways. Arsenal play a lot quicker. They get the ball out to the wingers and they can go and have a go. And 1v1, I think he's one of the best about, if I'm being honest. I think he's one of the best wingers. If you give him the ball 1v1, he doesn't mess about. He's not fussed in. I know he does a nice trick there, but he's not fussed in doing tricks. He's very direct, runs at real pace. And when you're a defender, you do not want people running with you at pace. You don't have to do too much. Very rarely he stops the ball. He gets the ball and he goes bang that way. You know, like Salah did, you know what I mean? Salah just got the ball and went bang. And people can't tackle you when you're doing that. And, yeah, I think he's been absolutely outstanding. I got it horribly wrong.
Yeah. I mean, for you, Julian, seeing a player like Noni, do you think this is good that Arsenal have got a player like that? Because usually we're so used to seeing Arsenal play that certain type of way where it's not as direct as sometimes the fans might want.
Yeah, I think Mikel has been a fan for a while. Not too much based on the stats that we saw at Chelsea, because Merce is right. There was maybe not enough from him in the end product. Yeah. But in terms of profile and what I think Mikel believed he could do with Madueke, I think he was a player that he liked from a very long time, even before the move. So it was an expensive signing in a way at £50 million to strengthen your squad, especially in those positions. But if you're a top club, that's what you do. Yeah. You sign players who could start or could be on the bench, could come on for the bench to have an impact. But those players are be expensive, naturally.
Yeah, Paul, Arsenal have suffered with injuries in years gone past, particularly to Bukayo Saka. And there was that moment whenever he went down, Arsenal fans held their breath. Do you think now that they've got a player like Noni, describe to us what that's like maybe for the potential left-back, thinking, OK, Saka's gone off and now I've got Noni to face?
Oh, there's nothing worse. I mean, nothing worse. When you see someone's number come up, you think, oh, I've got rid of him. Yeah. And then all of a sudden someone else comes on who's very similar and who's fresh. That's what they need. The next part of the season with the Champions League, and the league gets harder. The longer this season goes on, when you lose a game, the more effective it becomes. And to swap players that are like for like, it's very rare you can get that. Usually you bring a top quality player off and you're going to really weaken the team. Yeah. But you're not at the moment. The way he's playing, I think it's perfect over that side.
What about Arsenal as a whole? Do you think they've got that squad depth needed to go on and push and win the whole thing?
I think Arsenal's biggest game of the season is on Saturday night at Everton. I think it's a humongous game. I think Man City will beat West Ham. They'll be top of the league. And Arsenal will be walking onto that pitch thinking, we were 7 points clear not long ago. Yeah. We didn't even have a danger. And the last team you want to be chasing you down. I think this is a massive game. Yeah. Massive psychologically. But they have got a good squad. But I see a lot of nerves last weekend. It was scary.
Yeah. Julia, I know you were at the game last weekend. I saw you there. Yeah. But what did you make of it? Did you think it was alarming for Arsenal fans? Or was it quite a good defensive display from Wolves?
I would not say, I don't think it was worrying in the sense that I think this was the worst performance of the season. By far, I think everybody would say that. I think you probably are allowed to have one like that in each season, even if you're a top team. It happened to Liverpool last season, even when they won the league. It happened to City before, where you off it. There's no rhythm, there's no energy. It's a Champions League week, so you've already played. And I know it was only in Bruges, but it's still a Champions League week. You'd played a lot previously, which was not the case of Wolves. It's a 5-4-1 or 5-3-2 that you played against, but they were very defensive, they were very aggressive, and it's just not your day, but you just grind out a win. And I think that was the most important. Whatever happens, 2 own goals, just not much from the game, you take it. It just can't happen again. Yeah. And then if it happens another time, whether it's this weekend, in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, then you can worry. But a one-off like this, if it's a one-off, I don't think it's too alarming.
Yeah, but Paul, where do you think it went wrong in that game?
I thought they started I thought it was one of them, we just got to turn up and we'll win this football match. And I thought that was the whole stadium. And that's what they got to live with, Arsenal, for the next 22 football matches and the next, 11 at the Emirates. It's going to be like that. The right to have 11 people sat behind the ball, and they need to move the ball quickly. And I think sometimes they've got to be a little bit more open the game up where you're inviting the other team to have a go at you. And that wasn't the case. Do you know what I mean? It was just constant. Sometimes you've got to draw them out. Go back to the goalkeeper, bring them out, start again. Sometimes Arsenal play like 10 minutes in their half, but it's like an ice hockey power play. Yeah. It's there. Sideways. It's all sideways, and for me, he's got to get the horses for courses. I thought the week before he should have played Gyökeres at Villa Park. Last week, I think he plays Mourinho. I agree. You know, where you need that guy, or when you've got to break teams down, you need that player who's just going to come off. He's going to flick a ball there, flick a ball.
Yeah.
He might come off, and then someone's going to make a run inside.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's horses for courses. He's got to work out them things, Arteta. And I think the last couple of weeks he's got it wrong, and you know they've lost one and drew one.
Well, I mean, he's got the squad though. You know, he's going to still make mistakes like that. But I can't believe it. It feels weird to even say it's been 6 years this weekend that Mikel's been in charge of Arsenal. Paul, do you think it's quite a good blueprint sometimes, maybe for some of the other clubs, that a manager, you know, with the right backing, even if with a shaky start at the beginning, it can go good, like come good in the end?
I think so. Time, or you know, people got to have time. You know, there's only two sure things in management. If you're an Arsene Wenger, probably, well, not even an Arsene Wenger. If you're a Sir Alex Ferguson, you pay your tax, you get the sack.
Yeah.
They're the two surest things in management.
Yeah.
You've got to give time. You know, what he's done, I hear people go, if they don't win it this year, Arteta's got to go. He's got the life back in Arsenal. They're not also runs now. 6 years ago, 7 years, they were also runs. You know, they had no chance of ever winning the league. Would they get in the top four? It was a flick of a coin. They are big, big players now. He's got rid of everybody, all the trouble, all them, and he's brought life back to the club, and they are a very good team. That if you finish above Arsenal, you will win the Premier League.
Yeah.
Look. I mean, look at now we see Carlo Ancelotti on the screen, but this Arsenal team for his first game there, and the one that he has now in 6 years. And I know they've invested money, of course, and rightly so. But the value of the squads, the way they're playing, even the whole club, as you know too well, from the bottom to the top, it's transformed everything. And okay, the league title is missing. Sure, it would be much better if they'd won more. I get that. But everything he's done for this football club in the last 6 years is impressive.
Yeah, 100%. I think they win the league. There's 22 games to go. Their squad is so big and so strong that they win the league, in my opinion. If there was 6 games to go and I was sitting here and it was 2 points, then I'm going Man City.
Do you think sometimes when people are saying, like, you know, I can even catch myself saying it sometimes, it's like when people say, you know, I think they're going to go on and win the league, is that because of the squad depth and what we think they should do, or is that a reasonable thing? Are we kind of ruling out Man City too early?
They're the best team. I think they're the best team and they have the best squad. And their manager is maybe not at the level of Pep Guardiola, but not far. So you've got maybe the second best manager in the league, the best squads, arguably. And in terms of starting 11, certainly what we see, the best defense for sure. Okay, maybe not the best attack, but you're not far. So you've got everything there. Plus the experience that you've drawn from the last 2 seasons where you were so close and for whatever reason you just missed out. Whether it's your own fault, whether it was injuries, the pressure got to you, I don't know, mistakes that you made. All of that should be enough for them to go and win it.
But Paul, if they don't win tomorrow, would that change your mind?
I'd want to see the players in the next game after that.
Yeah.
Because it will change. It will.
So they've got Everton away, Brighton at home, Aston Villa at home.
Yeah. And then I'd want to see them, because then all of a sudden you draw one of them 2 games and Man City win, and then it's 3 points, and then all of a sudden it's catch up. But for me, I just don't see. They've got hard games coming up, but if they play to the best of their ability, they are the best team. And they've had the injuries they've had. If Man City had them, they'd be nowhere near them, nowhere near the players they've been missing. And I'm talking players where they play every week.
Yeah.
I hear some managers come out after a game and go, I've got 8 players out. And you go through the 8 players and you go, well, one of them plays and the other 7 don't play. These are big players for them, big players.
And the home fixture for the second half of the season is obviously better because they've
had some big games.
Liverpool at home, Villa at home,
had a hard
Chelsea
start,
at home.
didn't they?
Well, there we go. Well, looking forward to it. Arsenal are part of a 3-game Saturday evening lineup on Sky Sports. Their game with Everton is live as one of 2 8 o'clock kickoffs, and both the later matches follow.
Set an embargo partway through for 10:30 p.m. this evening. Start the show.
Hi Pep, good to see you again. You come up against a West Ham side that are struggling this season, but have you had to tell the players not to focus on that and to make sure they are prepared for a tough game?
Yeah, of course. We are prepared. So they didn't get enough results, but they drawn lately in Old Trafford, in Brighton away. We know perfectly how difficult they are. They lost at the end with Aston Villa, when it looks like almost unstoppable right now, and that was at the end. Always they have a top-class player, so full respect. But at the same time we are ready.
In 20 meetings against them, you've only lost one game, that came in the Carabao Cup on penalties. Does the preparations become difficult at all, knowing you're coming up against a team that you tend to do well against?
The past is the past. What we have done in the past, good or bad, is the past. So we won't have to do it again.
And second in the Premier League, going well in the Champions League semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, it looks like the players have put the difficulties of last season behind them. But yourself, you look like you're enjoying it more than ever. Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, but we can do better. I think we had results, but there are a lot of things that we have to do better. So still we are not in the position, in the way we play that we should be. But it helps for the fact that the mentality and the commitment is incredible, and that helps us to be there.
And you mentioned the good vibes at the Club World Cup. Is that something you're still seeing in and around the squad as well?
I said before, a month ago, even when the result was not good. So many things are positive, but in the way we play in things, still we are not the level that required to compete to win the titles, but the margin is there to improve it. That is nice.
Yeah. Hi, Pep. Just to check on the injury situation, please. Are any of the players that have been out recently ready to return tomorrow?
No.
I know that you've indicated it could be a few weeks for Jeremy Doku, but John Stones, Rodri, Oscar Bob, have you any idea when they might be available again?
No. We'll say have a game tomorrow, and after have 5 days before Nottingham, Sunderland, between Nottingham, Sunderland, maybe a few of them, they will start to be back. But for tomorrow, no.
Hi, Pep. Sometimes we know it can take new signings quite a while to adjust to playing in the Premier League. So with that in mind, just how impressed have you been by Ryan Cherky since his arrival?
Well, really good, especially for the age of personality he has. He's a guy who has played like he was playing in the street. But I want to push him. I will not give too much compliments, so that I'm really satisfied. We're really satisfied because his impact in the final third and goals and assists in every game is quite impressive. And we cannot forget, he's so young and have a right mentality to be better and better and better. But a few things has to improve.
And just can I ask you about Nico as well? I think he started the last 12 games now.
Who?
Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah, we'll have two Nicos. So that's why I had to.
He started the last 12 games in a row. It's coming up to a year since he arrived at the club. Just how pleased have you been by his development from when he first got here to where he is now?
The position that we are right now, without him, would have not been possible. Without Kobbie and especially Rodri, we don't have a proper replacement like in that position. That's why he recovered well, is young, and he had a lot, but the same like Ryan, I would say on everyone, have a margin to improve and getting better, especially with the ball, and we are working on it.
Hi, Pep. You have earned the right to decide, I think, when you call time on your period here at Manchester City. You have 18 months on your contract. I just wonder, have you given any thought to whether you will see out the entirety of that contract or whether you may indeed choose to leave in the summer? Where are you in that kind of thought process right now?
Well, the last 3 or 4 years, every time in a certain period ask me about that question. So yeah, sooner or later, I don't know, with 75 or 76, I will quit from Manchester City. But I understand that question when I have an end of a contract, but I have, you said perfectly, 18 months. So I'm so delighted, happy. I was excited with the development of the team and being there. That is only I can say. So, but you know, that question happened every single season at certain point. So I'm okay. So when I said many times, the club and myself, we are incredible connected, and in terms of the decision what we have to take, and when it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
What considerations do you give in those discussions? Because obviously there are some managers who say, for example, I'm going to leave at the end of this contract in the summer, and that has an adverse effect on performances in the players. You have so much history, so much affection for this club. what considerations do you have to bear all of that in mind alongside your own decision?
It's because the problem is that there are no discussions. End of the subject. There are no discussions.
But there will come at some point.
Yes, yeah. I will not be eternal here, but I said in my second season here, my third season, I will not be forever. Any of us will be forever in this world. So, but it's not discussions. So what is going to happen is going to happen. Of course, the club must be prepared for everything, for the players, for the CEOs, except the owners, that they are here, except they decide to sell the club. That is not, I think, is going to happen. The rest, the club have to be prepared, but it's not, in that subject, it's not on the table right now.
The City fans will want me to ask if you plan to be here at the start of next season. So, do you plan to be here?
I answered that question the two questions before. So I'm here.
So yes.
So I'm here. What's going to happen? Who knows that? Who knows? But even I have 10 years contract or I have 6 months contract. So football changed a lot. So now I'm focusing on West Ham and go a few days with my dad, and that's all. So, and come back, Nottingham and Sunderland and Chelsea and Brighton and all the stuff that we have ahead of us.
Have a great Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Pep, just on Semenyo, you've made some comments on his defensive work. Is this some kind of mentality issue, or it's the part of the player that he is? What is?
Listen, when we handle players, this type of talent players that we have in our disposal, or I have in my disposal, and the talent players, they are not the biggest attributes, so to be, because they run a lot. But that is to be a lot, be 5 meters open, or be a half meter of the opponent. You want to touch the opponent, you have a 2 meters away of the opponent. And most of the players that we have, we are not the team like required to be there, but not Semenyo, for many other players. And that's why we push it. But I think that can be improved, but the quality of Semenyo for the 1-against-1s and the pace and the other one, that it cannot be teach, cannot be improved. It's natural. But the other one is just to remember that we have to do it. Because when you do that, we run less and we play better. And this is what they are trying to insist every single day.
An old way of looking at this kind of issue is if I run back, I won't have legs to run when I go ahead.
Sorry?
There is an old way of looking at this. If I run back, I won't have the legs to run.
Okay, go to bed earlier. More massage, more food, more drinks. If you cannot go forward, it doesn't matter. First go backwards, and after we see go forwards.
So no
Netflix seasons and sleep early.
We'll set the embargo there for 10:30 p.m. this evening. Someone to start, please.
Whenever the end would be, 6 months, 6 years, whenever, would you have...
Are you a friend with him?
Would you have an input into who you would want it, whenever that is?
No.
You'd leave it to...
I'm happy here. I want to stay here. What can I say? When the club myself...
You've got Casemiro out, you've got the lads that have gone to the Africa Cup of Nations. Is there anybody else unavailable for Sunday?
No, I think everyone is well. We have one more training, but today I think the rest of the guys are ready to go.
Does that mean De Ligt and Maguire could feature?
No, I'm saying that the nobody recover, nobody's out, just the guys that you already know.
You've been asked a lot about Kobbie Mainoo in recent press conferences. It's kind of unavoidable to not ask you again in the wake of his half brother wearing a free Kobbie Mainoo t-shirt. Did you see that? Have you spoken to Kobbie about it?
No, it was not Kobbie that wear the t-shirt. He's not going to start because of the t-shirt, but he's not going to the bench because of the t-shirt. He's going to play if we feel that he's the right guy to play. so that is not an issue. I'm used to. I'm here for a year. It's not new, so we have to deal with that. But I'm not going to do something to Kobbie because someone on his family is doing something. It's going to be the same. If he's the right guy to play, he's going to play.
Hi, Ruben. In terms of this game, Villa obviously won, I think, 9 on the bounce, 15 out of 17. Do you think they are genuine Premier League title contenders?
Yeah, everything can happen. I think they have a manager with a lot of experience. You can see when you watch Villa play, you can sense that he's a very mature team. Understands that he doesn't panic when he's losing. He doesn't feel overwhelmed when he's winning. He can control the emotion all the time, and I think they are a very strong team. If they are going to fight until the end, I don't know, but they are capable of that.
In terms of United, at the moment, only City, I think, have scored more goals. You probably conceded more than you wanted to. How do you find the balance between attack and defence?
We watched the game again against Bournemouth. We can avoid that goals. Was a lot of transition. We have to put everything on the line when we are defending, and sometimes we are not doing that. We need to work on some details to suffer less goals, because in the end it's going to make the difference.
Yeah. Afternoon, Ruben. Not to go back to Kobbie, but have you had conversations with him about this situation? How has he been this week? Because it comes off the back of him actually playing the most minutes he has in recent weeks.
And he played really well. So that is the important thing. And then my office is always open. Nobody went there this week, so I think everything is normal. We are ready to go to Villa.
And you talked about being at the club for a year and having to deal with situations like this. I mean, how have you found that off the back of also this week? Bruno's interview from a few weeks ago came out with some quotes. I know he did another interview with the club as well with Rio Ferdinand, but it's just another situation that I suppose you have to deal with.
The difference is that he spoke with the club before that interview, and he said what is his feeling. Of course, we can avoid these things because we already know the noise. But he talked with the board, and I think everything is clear.
One of the things that he did say in the interview that he did with the Portuguese Federation was that he didn't think that everybody defended the club the way that he does. That almost as though some people don't care as much as he does. Is that fair? Do you think?
I don't know. It's fair. He just spoke about what is his feelings, and he needs to answer to that. It's not me. I think he is an example that he gives everything. He puts everything on the line in every training, in every match. And in that department is special. So I think he has that feeling. We need to step up and to have also that feeling. So we need to ask him, because I think he's a big example in the group.
I mean, because he's the captain, he's the biggest person in the dressing room. It would be a concern if that was really what he felt.
He spoke his feelings, and I think when I watch Bruno training and playing, he's a special character. And I think the numbers, the amount of games, everything prove that is a different player.
Hi Ruben, when we saw you in the summer in Chicago, you talked about organising the leadership group because there were things last season that ended up on your desk that perhaps you didn't want to end up on your desk, that they could just be solved in the dressing room. Is this issue with Kobbie one of those things that you don't necessarily have to get involved, but maybe the leadership group pulling to one side and just say, look, like...
No, it's continue a little bit everything on my desk. Every problem in our football club is still me that has to deal with that, but this will take time. But again, my door is always open, and there was not Kobbie. The job of Kobbie is to train and to play. I felt that he did really well this game. So that is the most important thing for me. If he has to play, he's going to play. If he's not going to play, he's not going to play.
I don't know if you saw Chido Obi and Harry Amas post on social media. I mean, what do you make of that? It seems quite petty.
I think it's the feeling, a little bit the feeling of entitlement that we have in our club. And sometimes strong words is not bad words. Sometimes difficult moments is not the bad things for the kids. We don't need to be always with accolades in everything, in every situation. We are not helping. That's why you guys talk about a lot of players nowadays that they speak and they go against the clubs and everything happened because they feel entitlement. And then you have legends of the club saying that if you don't play, leave because everyone is wrong. No, let's think about, let's stay, let's fight, let's overcome. Maybe the manager is wrong. So I have that feeling all the time that we need to fight against this feeling. And again, sometimes I'm the first one to say that I'm failing this club inside the pitch. I have that feeling. We are not performing the way we should be. But outside the pitch, I guarantee you I'm not failing to this club. So I think it's something in our club, and we talk about the players sometimes forget about what it means to play for Manchester United. We as a club sometimes forget who we are, and that's the feeling that I have. So I understand everything. Is the environment, is the moment of the players, the kids. They feel entitled. They feel free to respond the manager with a picture. My office is open. Nobody is coming to talk to me, and that is the way we can solve things. So I think we need to change first as a club, and then everything is going to change.
So would you appreciate it if they actually did come in to you and seek an explanation rather than going on Instagram?
Everything. But I didn't say nothing wrong. I just spoke about how the luck of playing for Manchester United. And sometimes you play for Manchester United and you go see a different realities and you understand that football can be so different and that you are really lucky to be in Manchester United. That was my point. But again, let's move on. And with the time that I think these things will change.
James. Ruben, just following on from Rob and Samuel's point, I think a lot of fans would completely agree with you on those points. Are you surprised? You said a lot still coming onto your desk. Are you saying that you'd hope that maybe the leadership team, some of the senior players, would take a bit more responsibility at this stage for some of those things? And also, could I just ask, Sir Alex Ferguson's done an interview in Bahrain, and he said it's not easy what you are facing. He likened it to what Liverpool faced. They won the title in 1990 and then they went 30 years before they won it again. He's saying it could be another 10 or 11 years before United win this title. I just wondered what you thought about that as well.
No, he understands football more than me, especially English football. I think we are not take that long to win a league, and I don't know which manager is going to be here, but I truly believe that we can fight for the title in the next years, and I think it's not going to take so many years. But you never know. In relation to leadership, it's the moment of the club, and you have to fight all the fights here inside, and I'm here to do that. So until I'm here, I will fight. I will not back down, and I have to solve everything.
You can't do everything though, Ruben. Like you are going to need players to pull other players into line at times. Surely you're going to need that dressing room to help police itself.
We are improving as a team. We are improving as a group, and we are going to improve in these small things that will make difference, even to suffer goals. If we are a different group, we are going to suffer less goals, but we are scoring more. So let's think about the positives and think about the Villa game.
Yeah. Okay.
Going to be any conversations while he's away on? Is there anything still needed in that respect, or is it just a case of when he returns, you just go straight back in as well?
No, I've said last week, actions speak louder than words, and we moved on. He was in the squad, and he was the first substitution I made. But now he's at the AFCON, playing big games for himself, but also for the country. So I think it's fair to them, but definitely also for us, because we are going to play some very important games, that all the focus is for him over there. And there should not be any distraction of me saying anything about his time here at Liverpool, because what I said, we've moved on after the Leeds interview, and he played against Brighton, and now he's there. So it's fair for that country and for him, and also for us, to talk for us about Tottenham and other games, and for them to be fully focused on their tournament.
So how is the squad looking availability-wise with this Hackspeed game? Thinking in particular Joe Gomez, Dominic Szoboszlai, okay, with that ankle injury that he had. Is Jeremy Frimpong available once again? Cody Gakpo as well, where's he at?
Well, he had a scan that looked promising, so that means that we're not that worried anymore as we were maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago. So that means he might come back a bit earlier than expected 2 weeks ago, but that's definitely not tomorrow, and also not next week. Where Joe is not in the squad as well, the weekend, and Dominic trained yesterday parts of the training for the first time. So let's see where he is today and how he then is tomorrow. And Jeremy is in the squad again as well.
Obviously, you have Conor Van Backer.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from Spurs? Because it was 20 goals across the 4 games last season, including the 6-3 down there. And I make it, in the last 12 meetings between the two, you're averaging the goals in each game. You're averaging around about 4.5 goals per game.
Yeah. But it took us 92 minutes, I think, to score away against Brentford, a Thomas Frank team last season. So you cannot compare. You can compare certain things because mainly the same players. They've added a few players to their team, and with Thomas Frank, a new manager. So I don't think you can compare our games of last season with this season. Even more so because we not only added, we lost a lot of players as well. So you cannot compare this team of us to last season, and even with the same manager, because I'm the same manager, and you cannot compare our results last season with facing a Thomas Frank team.
Do you feel that you're building momentum in the season?
I felt that earlier, and I felt that many times. What I mainly feel is that I can see, and that is always, I hope this we will all see this in the results as well, but I see that we are progressing. I just had an interview and I said over there as well, too many times this season I had to play players that were fit when it comes to having no injury, but were they completely ready for 90 minutes of Premier League intensity? No, you can ask yourself the question if that was completely true. So, and I answer that question with what I say. So I don't think too many times that wasn't the situation for the amount of games we played. I'm not talking only about the new players that had to adapt to the Premier League. We missed out on a lot of players that had injuries either in pre-season or during the season. And I see now players progressing in terms of their fitness and as a result of that in their performances. And so yeah, I think we are definitely making progress. First of all, because players are fitter, more ready for what the request is that? Demands, what the demands are. And that's a good base to start from. And now we have to, and I've seen so many moments in games where we played so well, but not enough times, 90 minutes.
So in terms of that progression as well, without getting too carried away, and I know you're not at the league table just yet, if you do win this game, you could go top 4 with it. Just in terms of that alone, what could that do to the spirit and the feeling around everywhere?
I think winning always gives a good feeling and a good spirit for a team that had so many changes during the summer. The league table, the first 12, 13, 14, 15 teams are so close to each other that winning or losing matters a lot, with one exception. Although City is coming closer and closer to Arsenal now, but Arsenal's quite far away from us. So I think the main thing for us is to build on where we are building on in the last 5 games. I think we are, maybe with the exception of Brighton, by the way, because we did concede quite a lot of chances against them. But the other games we were solid, decent. Is decent a good word? But solid defensively, and that's a good base. Combined with that, players are getting more and more ready to compete at Premier League intensity as a group. So I think we can expect more from us in the upcoming part of the season than what we've shown before. But I assume that everybody would expect that as well.
And just to add to what you were saying about the group and getting together, taking away international breaks, this was the first full week that you'd have, full midweek without a game since back in August. Nick, so what have you been able to do, and how helpful has that been for you?
I think it's always helpful for a manager to work on a training pitch with the players, especially if you bring in players, not all of them, but a few of them, a little bit later in the window. With Alex, for example, he's the best example of that in the 1st of September. And I think it's also, but you can also influence your players if you play a game and you do your video meetings. So it's not an excuse for our results, not at all. But I would prefer to have more of these weeks than we have, because it's a way of implementing either new things or, pointing out more and more, or stressing on things we have to do better than we did them before. So yeah, I liked it. And next week is the same. So, that, is almost, a mini, is that the right word you use here? A pre-season. Yeah. For us.
10 goals for Hugo Ekitike so far, and there's been quite a variety in the type of finishes that he's applied. I just wonder if he's surpassed your expectations so far.
No, he didn't, because we knew what type of player we signed. I think I said it straight after the game, and this is something I just said as well. He had to go off, I think, in the Brighton game after 70 minutes because he had cramp. But he did double the amount of work, a little bit exaggerated, but almost double the amount of work that he did 3 months ago, where I also had to take him off with cramp. So, but his ability to score, his technique, his speed, all these things, that's just what he has. So no one is surprised to see that. But he improved a lot in terms of how much he runs during a game, how hard he works. And, that's a big help for the team as well, because people are focused only on goals, but, he helps us out now defensively as well. And that is also very important for a number 9. In the talks I had with him, I probably spoke more about what I expect from him defensively than offensively, because offensively he can. What do you think of that? Before we signed him, he had no problem with that. After we signed him, he sometimes felt like, can we also talk a bit about offense? Or but there's not so much to talk about offense with him, because that part of his game is very good. And defensively, I'm more and more excited to see what he's doing as well.
And just a quick one on Konate. You said a few games ago that he was a bit too much at the scene of the crime for you this season. I just wonder if you think in recent games he's started to find his form again.
Yeah, and I added to that for centre-backs, that's not an uncommon thing to be on the crime scene if you concede goals. But he's been unlucky a few times, where he played good games, in my opinion. But then, a moment decides a game. Unfortunately, we play, I don't think it's unfortunate, but we play a low, scoring game, football. That's the nice thing about football. That's why, teams that are maybe not as good as other teams can still win the game. In basketball, the best team always wins, I think, because you have so many goals you can score. But in a low-scoring sport, that's more difficult. And then when you're involved in a moment like Ibu, it has an immediate impact on the result. And then, of course, people are not as positive about that as they maybe should have been if you look at his performances. But recently, he's not been on a crime scene. And that is the way we prefer to see him. We prefer to see all of our players, but that's not only about him. I think he's helped out more recently than before. So, I think we're less vulnerable in certain situations than we were in other parts of the season, and that has immediate impact on centre backs. And Ibu is a centre back, especially. No, let's keep it like this.
Thank you.
I guess John says that the past 3 games, what have you made the impact if there was a series of events last Saturday? Also, in fees, you know, to go to that next level, becoming a record star.
If you would have had a bit more hair, you were Curtis, because of the dialect the two of you have. Always when you ask a question, I have to listen very carefully. He's done really good in the last 3 games, and I think that's not the first time. But maybe since I'm here, it's the first time that it's 3 times in a row that he brings in very, very, very good performances. And he's had in the past also very good performances. And a game later, I maybe didn't like the performance as much as I did now recently in his last 3 games. So I think it's again a challenge for him to go to the 4th, to go to the 5th, to go to the 6th game. But I think I'm not the only one who liked the way he played, with so much confidence, with so much work rate, giving it all in every single moment for the team, and really, really, really comfortable on the ball as well. So his last 3 performances are the base where we expect him to go on. But that starts tomorrow against a challenging opponent like Spurs.
Do you think Dalot could play against Spurs? Would you start him or be more cautious and see how it goes?
That completely depends how he does today. So if he can fulfill the whole training session, and then you speak to the player and to the medical staff, if the player feels comfortable to play, and he did all the things he had to do, then he will start. If he can't fulfill the whole session, or he doesn't feel comfortable, he fulfills it, but he doesn't feel comfortable himself, we will have a discussion. But Dom has been a starter for me in the 1.5 year I'm here now. And for the performances he's brought in, he would be a starter tomorrow if he's completely fit.
No. Hi, Anna. You mentioned the Brighton game and the chances that they were able to create. I think they had more chances and better chances than Leeds, who scored 3 goals than didn't score any. I'm just wondering what we put back down to. You mentioned that the overall fitness of the group has improved. Do you think maybe there's an element that other teams are starting to have a look at some of the recent changes made and maybe start to find some of the potential weak points in it?
That is a question only the future can answer. The last part of your question, the first part of your question is, I think we've conceded against Brighton more chances than the 4 games combined. So that also tells you how well we did in the 4 games before that. I think not many teams have kept Inter Milan in their own stadium away from any danger at all. Maybe one chance, one header from Martinez. So yeah, they arrived a lot of times second half in our 18-yard box, created very good moments, but we have to understand and know that we created a lot against them as well. So again, it was the balance where the games before we didn't create that much. Now we've created more, but conceded more as well, in the second half mainly. So, first half, very good performance from us on the ball. Don't think we gave away a lot in the first half, but the second half, the game was more open on both ends. There were a lot of nice situations in both boxes. So, but that is also due to the fact that Brighton has, I've said this before, always a very good playing plan, very good idea of how they want to play, but also very good players and very good players coming off the bench. So I don't know if you liked Mitoma seeing that he came in. In every other game I would like it, but if he plays against us, I prefer to see him sitting on the bench, because he's one of the very good players they have.
Do you feel like you're getting closer to that balance between being able to be effective in attack and without giving away a lot of other chances there? I mean, you mentioned the fact that previous games there was less attack and less defence, and this game was a bit more. But do you feel like you're getting closer to that balance of being able to be good in one and good in the other?
Yeah, I think we are getting closer and closer to the team I want us to be. And that has gone with ups and downs. Let's be completely clear about that. But for me, that makes complete sense, because all the changes we've made during the summer, and we made them on purpose because we thought we needed to. And if I'm completely honest, maybe I didn't expect it to take maybe as long as it did. But looking back on it, reflecting on it now, I think I've been too positive, because if you go with a new group where not all of them are completely ready to play every single game 90 minutes in this intensity, you have to adapt. Sometimes he can play, then he cannot play. So it takes maybe a bit of time, and we've been very unlucky. Unlucky with referee decisions. I said this multiple times. Even Saturday, when I said afterwards that the referee was completely neutral, I missed out on a red card. Another influential decision, but this time it didn't hurt us, and we have to go to that situation. If a referee decision is against, it doesn't matter. We are still good enough to win. If we concede a set piece, no problem. We're still able to win. So set pieces is another thing. I think from almost all the losses that we've had, except for one maybe, in all the other ones we've conceded a set piece, and we shouldn't be. That shouldn't influence our result anymore, and that's why we have to improve. That we're not depend as much on luck or bad luck, because we are in that mix too many times from the start of the season. Because we were a few times lucky, maybe in the start, when we scored late goal winners. We deserved those wins, but still were small margins, and we have to make sure that this team gets to a level that either referee decisions or set pieces doesn't influence our results as many as they've done in recent weeks or months.
You play from the top.
We cannot wait 175 days exactly to go until it all gets underway. And today we are going to focus on one of the contenders, you have to say, Portugal. Could they win their first World Cup? They've produced so many great players down the years. Eusebio there. Rui Costa is now the sporting director at Benfica. Luis Figo, what a player. Magic at his feet. He was great for Portugal. Deco as well more recently. And then, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo, CR7, who will be 40 as he goes into this World Cup next year. In terms of their best ever finish, had a few decent finishes. 1966, finished third. Of course, England won the World Cup that year. Who could forget that?
Had to bring that up.
Forget about Portugal. 2006, they also reached the semis, finished fourth that year. And then the last World Cup in Qatar, they made it to the quarterfinals. Sort of before we get on to specifically with Portugal, I wanted to ask you this question. What does a team need to win a World Cup, Ian?
A team like Portugal or a team in general?
A team. To win a World Cup, what do you need?
You need a multitude of things. You don't just necessarily lean on quality that you have in your squad. You don't rely on a striker that can score goals from you. You don't rely on health or maybe even the setup, the foundation you have with a great coach. You need all of those things to essentially come together for it to work. I mean, throughout history, there has been some great nations who have had a lot of success. They've created talent. They've gone on to have success. But actually, I think for smaller nations and nations like a Portugal, you've got to make sure that everything sort of comes together at the right time to go on and have World Cup success. But what it would do for the nation if they did find it would be unreal.
There was a reason I asked you that question, because now we move on to specifically about Portugal. Do they have enough to win the World Cup coming into this one?
Portugal, as many people who have been watching our show for a long period of time, are my dark horse to win the World Cup. Now, I've been critiqued because of that reason. Many people have jumped into my DMs or even added me on social media. If you're looking for it, it's at Adam Hunt Sport. Please make sure you let me know how you feel about it.
Leave me alone.
They're dangerous. Listen, every single position on this field is filled with talent. Every single position, and I'll break down a little bit later on what I really think about this, but every single player has something to offer this Portuguese national team. There's world-class quality in midfield. There's experience in the centre-back position. There's competition in goalkeeping position. And up front is where the real creativity comes in. You've got the great and legendary Cristiano Ronaldo, but then you've got Bruno Fernandez, or Fernandes, according to our Chris Whittingham. You've got then talented youngsters who will float around and potentially try to get into that starting 11. So we'll break it down a little bit more in just a minute, what I think the 3 keys are for them to go on and have success. But how remarkable is it to have this? But not just necessarily the experience on the field, they also have on the sidelines as well. So a lot of things are going in the right direction for the nation Portugal, but there's something to be said about written in the stars. We remember what happened with Lionel Messi. Everyone wanted Messi to win the World Cup. I bet there's a few out there who wish Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, there's a lot of people hoping that Cristiano Ronaldo can finally do it into his 40s. You would think it probably is his last World Cup, because he'd be 44 coming into the next one. So surely this will be the last one, although you wouldn't put it past him. How much would it cap his already unbelievable career?
Well, what he's done for football in general, what he's done as a humanitarian, what he's done for the legacy of the game, what he's done for video games and for the next generation, the youth players, the celebration, I mean, the icon that he is. And, you know, I'm a Manchester United fan. This guy's a hero of mine. He's one of the most athletically built players we've ever seen in history. He does things that other players could never even dream of trying. And he's still playing at age 40. And now it looks like he's going to be, I think he's going to be 41, you know, when that first ball rolls. I think he's going to be 41, which is absolutely insane that we're talking about that. But he's ripped. He's in great shape. He's not normal. He's not human. He can still offer this team so much in front of goal. And I still think there's a real possibility he has an impact in this World Cup as well. I wouldn't expect him to play every game. I would expect him to be rested at times and making sure you pick and choose the moments when you utilise his brilliance. But this guy right now is currently sitting on 954 professional goals. 954 professional goals. You have the legendary Pelé, who claimed to have over 1,000 goals. I think there's one other player who claimed to have over 1,000 goals as well. But Cristiano Ronaldo, all of his goals are on record. They're all on tape. Everything's been seen. And he's doing it at the highest level every single place he goes. Now, playing in Saudi Pro League, completely helping dominate a region and change football in that region, he's a worldwide phenomenon. And I wouldn't put it past him winning a World Cup with this group of players, and his experience is vital.
But, as we saw early on, they've had a lot of great players down the years, going all the way back to Eusebio, who was playing in that era with Pelé, and they haven't managed to get over the line.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, before you even get your question out. If you look at this group of players, now individually, yes, I agree with you. They've had periods where Portugal have had individual class players, world-class players. You go through the years, you just pointed out there. You know, Figo, Deco, Rui Costa, you also have, going through history, Eusebio and people like that. But let me ask you this. Is this the most talented group of players you've seen assembled ever by Portugal?
I don't think I'd use the word talented. I would say complete. That's always been the issue for Portugal in the past. They've had players like Ronaldo and back down the years to Luis Figo and all the others.
Yes.
But there's always been a weakness. There's always been an area. I mean, England played them not that long ago in a World Cup, and I remember going into that game thinking, well, we've got to worry about a couple of stars here, but there's clearly some areas where we can really hit them on the break. And I think that's the issue for Portugal is, in previous years, there's always been an area where you can attack them. But I think as we saw that team just there, where is the weakness in this team? But let's play devil's advocate. Why can't they win it? Why might they not do it this time?
Well, they haven't necessarily been outstanding through qualifying for the World Cup. They weren't at their best. They were actually a little inconsistent and actually left it kind of late going into the qualification process to stamp their place at the World Cup. And you remember they obviously had an emphatic victory to finally clinch it. Discipline for Cristiano Ronaldo in Ireland. You remember what happened there. That can happen to players of his age, and some of the young players, inconsistency can creep in as well. But I fear for injury a little bit. What I would like to see is a few things, and here's the most important factors for me, okay? I think Portugal are an absolute favourite going into this World Cup because of these three things. An experienced coach. Martinez has been in a World Cup semi-final with a great Belgian side. They were talented, but are they as talented as this Portugal side? I don't believe so. Sorry to all you Belgians out there. Don't mean any threat to the Red Devils. But this group of players is sensational. Yeah. And I do believe that they have Martinez in his prime right now, wanting to have success, to prove people wrong. Because it didn't go well for him in the next World Cup in 22. It wasn't great in the Euros either with the Red Devils, right? He largely disappointed. So maybe surprised that he got the opportunity now with Portugal. He would have been licking his lips when he sees the quality in every single position. Every single position, from start to finish, has two players battling it out to try and get in to his starting 11. And there's young players, there's experienced players, there's players playing at the elite high level, and then you've got players who are in form right now who are just next level world class. It's not just one, right? Can't say Cristiano Ronaldo's world class only in this group. You've got Bernardo Silva, who's world class. You've got absolute talent.
Mendes as well, yeah.
But I'm going to throw the X factor out to you. Now, the X factor, I was kind of trying to keep it a secret, so I was kind of standing here, you know, so I could keep it a secret. Many people will say the X factor is Cristiano Ronaldo in this group, right? Because he's a legend, he's an icon, and it would be awesome to watch him win the World Cup. Many people would say, obviously, Rafa Leao, world-class talent, X factor. He can win you a game. He may even win your World Cup if he finds his form and consistently finds his form. He has the X factor, but is inconsistent with it. The X factor for me, for Portugal's success, is Vitinia. Now, I have listened to people on this network, not pointing any names or pointing at any people or saying any names. Jeff Shreves, anyway, said that Declan Rice is the best midfielder in the world. You must be joking. Absolutely joking. He is not anywhere near what this guy's producing right now in terms of world-class quality. Best midfielder in the world? You have to produce it on the highest level, on the highest stage. This guy's won everything. The only trophy he didn't win was the FIFA Club World Cup for Paris Saint-Germain. And you remember what he did during the Champions League final? Difference maker. When it matters most, on the big occasion, stepping up and proving a point. One of the best players in the world with his passing. If you look at players now, the only one that's even close to this guy's standard is Pedri from Barcelona. Passes into the final third. Exceptional. He is next level brilliant. So when I look at this group and I say, okay, who do you really need to step up? Yes, you need the full group and you need a lot of things to check off for you to have World Cup success if you're a nation the size of Portugal. It's not a big nation. But I think Vitinia holds the key. He is the X factor. If he plays well, the group plays well. If they play well and consistently well at him, they've got a chance of winning the whole thing.
Really quickly, I'm only allowing one word here. You said they were your dark horses.
Yep.
If you were to put money on it, where do you think they'll get to?
Plus 1,000 for them to win the whole thing. Plus 550 to reach the final. I would put money on plus 550 to reach the final.
Okay.
Plus 220 to reach the semi-final. That's not one word, Adam. Sorry. But in my personal opinion, you've got to be very careful what you wish for. If they have success and they win their group stage, they win their group. They've got a difficult group, right? Uzbekistan and Colombia, and then, of course, you've got another team coming in for the playoffs. If everything goes well and we expect them to have success and win the group, you have a chance of a quarter-final matchup between them and Argentina.
Oh.
Which would mean what? Ronaldo versus Messi. I mean, let's lick our lips at the opportunity of something like that.
To the FIFA Best Awards last night, which we just mentioned there. Ousmane Dembélé was named the Men's Player of the Year. Spain's Aitana Bonmati taking the Women's Award. Jamie, not very surprising winners, I guess, but it's always interesting, isn't it? Because you can see who votes for who in these awards.
You can have a field day, you can spend a lot of time doing it. Oh, that's interesting.
So you've done some digging.
Just so people are aware of how it works, every national captain and coach gets to vote for their 1, 2, 3. So Ousmane Dembélé, as you say, won Men's Player of the Year. Overwhelming majority of national captains and coaches had him as their number one. Harry Kane was actually one of those who had Ousmane Dembélé as number one. Thomas Tuchel, though, only had him as his third choice. Thomas Tuchel's 1 and 2 were Harry Kane and Cole Palmer, respectively. So very loyal. Read into that what you will. But you can spend a lot of time looking at some interesting patterns emerging, a few quirkier votes. So Cole Palmer, 3 national captains actually voted for Cole Palmer as the best player in the world. Thani Beale of the Cook Islands, Kevin Molino of Trinidad and Tobago, and Jordan Ayew of Ghana and Leicester, of course. They all had Cole Palmer as their number one. Quite a few votes for Harry Kane here as well in that category. Among them, South Korea captain Heung-min Son, loyal to the last, to his very best pal. A few votes for Mohamed Salah as the best player of the year as well. And this is interesting. Dominic Szoboszlai, captain of Hungary, Wataru Endo, captain of Japan, Andy Robertson, captain of Scotland, all had Salah as their number one. So a bit of a Liverpool block vote. But Conor Bradley, captain of Northern Ireland, only had Salah as his number two. So perhaps a reflection how hard Mo Salah makes right-backs work. I don't know. On the subject of Salah, obviously, as Egypt captain, he had a vote as well. And when it came to voting for coach of the year, he only had Arne Slot as his number two.
Really?
Ooh, interesting.
Who was his number one?
But maybe don't read too much into that, because his number one, and a lot of people's number one, the man who won it was Luis Enrique, coach of the year. So Endo and Bradley both had Luis Enrique as the number one, and Arne Slot as their number two as well. Szoboszlai and Robertson, incidentally though, had Arne Slot as their number one, so staying loyal to their gaffer. But it's always fascinating to see who voted for whom, and whether it's just pals voting for their pals, basically.
And of course, people are going to pick up on the Salah one, aren't they?
They will. Yeah. These had to be submitted before the end of November, I think, so it was before that explosive rant interview, call it what you want, from Mo Salah a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, he still had Arne Slot as his number two, and Luis Enrique, you can't really argue with that, can you?
If he wasn't in the top three, then that
really, then there really would be headlines, exactly.
Okay. Cheers, Jamie.
We dedicate this video to manager situations, and we have to start from Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca, who is doing a really important job at Chelsea. The results have been very good in the recent years, from the Club World Cup to the Conference League, qualifying to the Champions League last season. This season, Chelsea are still competing very well. So Enzo Maresca, who's been doing a very good job at the club. And the stories about Manchester City. Stories coming today from The Athletic. And what I can tell you guys about Enzo Maresca is that it's important to mention not to forget two things. The first one, Enzo Maresca is a former Manchester City man. He used to work at the club, at the academy, as assistant of Pep Guardiola as well. So Enzo Maresca knows Manchester City very well. And the appreciation for Enzo Maresca has always been there. And if one day Pep Guardiola, when he will decide to leave Manchester City, Pep Guardiola is going to be involved in the conversation internally to suggest who could be the best man to replace him. When that's going to happen. That's not guaranteed to happen now, I mean, in summer 2026. And Pep really appreciates Enzo Maresca. So for sure, is a name that has always been circulating internally at Manchester City. Before, when Chique Begiristain was the director, and now with Hugo Viana being the director, Hugo Viana is Portuguese, and here is the second factor. The Portuguese connection with Jorge Mendes, one of the most powerful agents in the world, who is also the agent of Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca, few months ago, decided to sign with Jorge Mendes as new agent, as new representative, and so we have these two elements. Appreciated internally by Manchester City, for sure, since a long time ago. They know him at the club. Appreciated by Pep Guardiola. Appreciated on the technical point of view, human point of view, as a coach, as a person. So very good connection. And then the connection with Jorge Mendes, who is the new agent of Enzo Maresca. In this story, there is obviously also Chelsea. So we don't have to forget about Chelsea. Enzo Maresca, in his public quotes recently, was suggesting some stuff about the worst 48 hours, not feeling the support, and all these kind of things. At the same time, Chelsea are quite happy with the work Enzo Maresca is doing and has been doing at the club. So that's for sure. Then, on some points, you remember probably last summer Enzo Maresca said in public in August that he wanted a new centre-back after the injury of Levi Colwill, and this transfer didn't happen. So there were some moments where maybe Chelsea and Enzo Maresca were not 100% aligned, but this can be part of football. What I can say is that Chelsea at the moment are not looking to get rid of Maresca at all, also because Maresca is doing a very good job at the club. And that at this point, there is an appreciation from Man City. Yes, but we don't have to forget that Enzo Maresca is under contract at Chelsea. So anything happening in summer 2026 would require a really important compensation. Chelsea are not commenting on this story. Chelsea remain fully focused on this season with Maresca. Chelsea always mention that they review the manager situation at the end of the season. So Chelsea will not talk about that or focus on that now. So let's keep the appreciation from Man City. That's something we know. And also the connection between Hugo Viana and Jorge Mendes is very good. Jorge Mendes has a great relationship at Man City as well, as with many other clubs around the world. He's one of the best agents in the world, but that's the situation as of now. Nothing more than this. Let's respect also the work of Enzo Maresca, who is now fully focused on Chelsea job. Enzo Maresca is not thinking about anything else, just to try succeed with Chelsea the best way possible. You can see the connection also with the fans. So let's save the appreciation, the relationship with Mendes, but at the moment, it's too early to mention something else. More on this, guys. Pep Guardiola, still no decision made on his future. There is a possibility Pep Guardiola leaves Manchester City in summer 2026. Yes, there is a possibility, but it's not something decided. It's not something guaranteed. Pep believes that Man City can compete to win all titles this season, and so Pep focus remains absolutely on Manchester City project. Pep is involved in the transfer strategy of Manchester City, and that's also a very important point. So Pep is not thinking just about himself. Pep is fully involved on what Man City are doing. Sign a winger, sign a right back, ask Pep who could be the right player. So it's not that Pep is already preparing to leave the club. Not at all. So that's the situation as of now. So let's also respect Pep Guardiola in this story. Then many of you asking me who could be a profile of a coach appreciated by Chelsea in case Maresca leaves in 2026. Again, guys, Chelsea are focused on the present with Maresca. Chelsea are really happy with Enzo Maresca, and that remains the situation as of now. One coach they appreciate for sure, because he's already part of the Blue Co group, is Liam Rossignol, who is doing a great job at Strasbourg, the other club of Blue Co group, but it's just an appreciation for someone they know internally and they've been working with. That's the point. But then, at the moment, to suggest that Enzo Maresca is 100% leaving, that Maresca is going to Man City, that Pep is leaving Manchester City, that Chelsea are preparing their future, we are not at this stage at all. It's December, Maresca is fully focused on Chelsea, and so it's just an appreciation game at the moment, nothing else. So let's mention this. Then we will see in the next months what's going to happen. On this manager situation, guys, I wanted to mention a few more things to answer also your questions. First one, Arne Slot. After the recent wins, way better situation internally. After what happened with Mo Salah, Arne Slot, you can feel how important is his role for Liverpool management, because Liverpool decided together with Arne Slot how to handle the Mo Salah story, and so the power of Arne Slot is very clear in terms of receiving the support from Liverpool. They trust the manager even in difficult situations, and so Slot remains in control at Liverpool. Of course, the results have to improve, but recently it already improved, so they will have to continue this way. Xabi Alonso won the last 2 games, and this was for sure helping to change the pressure around him. At the same time, guys, for Xabi Alonso, the next games will still be important. So the position is, at the moment, under control, but it's still not 100% safe. And so the next games, Sevilla, Betis, and then, really important, the Spanish Super Cup. Those moments are going to be really important to understand what Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso will do for their future. Xabi Alonso will have the opportunity to keep his job, to keep doing his best for Real Madrid. And so that is going to be the moment. The next 2 games in La Liga and then the Spanish Super Cup. Really important for the club to see how the team reacts in top games. Because so far this season, apart from El Clasico, in some big games, Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, also Manchester City in Champions League, was not the best moments for Real Madrid. So that's going to be the crucial moment for Xabi Alonso. Something I wanted to add, guys, is also on Zinedine Zidane, because Zinedine Zidane remains in verbal agreement with the French Federation to be the head coach from 2026 after the World Cup. Didier Deschamps will do the World Cup, and after the future will be with Zinedine Zidane. It's not signed, so anything can still happen. We never know in football what happens. Let's keep doors open. But the verbal agreement is with France. Zinedine Zidane at the moment is not negotiating with English clubs. You ask me about Man City, Chelsea, Real Madrid. At the moment, despite him being at the Bernabeu, despite the rumors on English clubs, the focus for Zidane is a future at the French national team with maximum respect for Didier Deschamps, because there is a World Cup incoming. France are among favorites, and so Zidane will respect this. And so, guys, let me your thoughts on all these stories from Enzo Maresca, Pep Guardiola, Liam Rossignol, and also Zinedine Zidane, and all the rest of the stories, Xabi Alonso and Arne Slot. Your opinion, guys, here in comments. Like this video, turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel. Posted on the transfer market today, guys. Several things to discuss. We will go from Bruno Fernandez to Semenyo, but also Kobbie Mainoo, Lewandowski, and much more. Let's jump into it together. Let me start today's video, guys, by Miami, because Inter Miami have made an announcement today, and it's an important update. It's about strikers, because in the last few weeks, We had several reports on strikers linked with the move to Inter Miami. Those reports were regarding different players. One of them was Timo Werner. I'm told that Timo Werner, former Chelsea striker, could end up in MLS, but not to Inter Miami. So this deal is not happening. Inter Miami were linked with the move also with Robert Lewandowski, but from what I'm hearing, this deal is not happening. Inter Miami were also linked with a move for Neymar Jr. I don't know what's going to happen with Neymar's future after the World Cup, but before the World Cup, the expectation is for Neymar Jr. To negotiate very soon a new contract with Santos. Santos are pushing to get the deal done with Neymar, and so the most likely solution for Neymar Jr. is to stay at Santos at least until the World Cup 2026 and then decide on his next moves. So this is the situation. Inter Miami have announced today that their striker for the new season after winning the MLS Cup with Leo Messi and his teammates in the last season is going to be Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez stays at the club. Luis Suarez signed a new deal until 2026, and so Lucho is staying at Inter Miami. No Lewandowski, no Timo Werner, Neymar Jr. for this transfer window, no. Neymar contract is expiring, but Santos are pushing to extend this deal. Then, guys, we move into Premier League updates, and we start from Manchester because Bruno Fernandez released a very important interview, a very strong interview, I would say, in the recent days. An interview where Bruno made very clear that in his feeling, first of all, let me clarify one thing. The interview was released in the recent days, but was made with Bruno Fernandes in November. Doesn't change that much because the content of the interview is still very strong, but was made in November, so it's not a fresh interview. But still very important, still very relevant. Because Bruno said, I have a feeling that Manchester United wanted to let me go last summer, were prepared to let me leave last summer. I decided to stay because I love this club. I love Manchester United. And also because of the manager. What Bruno Fernandes says, guys, is quite powerful. He says, I have a feeling that the club were not desperate to keep me. It was the manager, Ruben Amorim, who really wanted me to stay. And it's 100% sure, I can guarantee that, Ruben Amorim wanted Bruno to stay. But Bruno says, from Man United they were not that desperate. The feeling of Bruno Fernandes is that Man United were prepared to accept the proposal from Saudi Al Hilal for him. Bruno decided to say no, that's the reality. Many of you asking me, as one of the parts of this interview was also mentioning, if I will have to play in Saudi Arabia in the future, well, I will do it. So Bruno was not closing doors to a Saudi move in the future. He was also mentioning now, after many years in Europe, maybe the quality of my life in Saudi could be different. So Bruno was not closing the doors. What I can tell you guys is that from Saudi, trust me, 3 years ago, 2023 already, Bruno Fernandes was wanted as a top target, and he said no. 2024 wanted as a top target and said no. 2025 wanted as a top target and he said no. So Bruno was always wanted by Saudi, and was always Bruno to stop that deal. Now, if you ask me what's going to happen in 2026, what I can say is that for January, the situation is more than quiet. So nothing is imminent, nothing is happening. For the summer transfer window, I would keep an eye on the interest from Saudi, because I think from Saudi they can return for Bruno Fernandes. Then it's going to be up to Bruno. It's going to be up to Man United again. Let's see what's going to happen before or after the World Cup. But I can guarantee, as I always tell you here on my channel, Bruno always been one of the targets for the Saudi deal makers. They will be back. Tony Rudiger, Mo Salah, several players always wanted. Bruno is one of them. So let's follow that situation. At the moment, it's not a topic for January, from what I'm hearing. The intention is not to part ways in January. Bruno is fully focused on Man United. He's showing his love for Man United, but in the summer in Saudi they will try again. So it's going to be up again to Bruno and to Manchester United. On Manchester United, guys, let me confirm that after what we saw after Man United Bournemouth, the brother of Kobbie Mainoo showing a shirt at Old Trafford, free Kobbie Mainoo, that was a powerful image as well. The desire of Kobbie Mainoo remains to go on loan in the January transfer window. Now, this depends on United, as I told you. I keep confirming my informations. Roma want Joshua Zirkzee, Napoli want Kobbie Mainoo. Napoli are prepared to push. Napoli want to make it happen. Napoli believe that Kobbie is a crucial target for their January transfer window, and what I'm hearing is that after Scott McTominay's success there, Rasmus Højlund is also doing quite well, Kobbie Mainoo would be more than tempted by joining Napoli in the January transfer window. Now, this depends on Man United, on what Man United want to do. I can confirm once again that the player wants to play. So this is not about a permanent transfer, this is about a loan opportunity, but to play, to have regular game time. There is the World Cup. Kobbie started 0 Premier League games this season, and so Kobbie is definitely open to that solution, open to that situation. Then it's going to be up to Manchester United and Ruben Amorim together with the manager to decide on Kobbie Mainoo, on Joshua Zirkzee, several players traveling for the AFCON, so Man United are in a position where they will have a short squad if they let some players go, but the desire of Kobbie is quite honest. Let me play, let me develop, let me improve, let me have the chance to go to the World Cup. Eventually give me the chance to return to Man United as a better player in summer 2026. So this is the point of Kobbie Mainoo. We will see what's going to happen in conversations, but I can insist on Napoli. Napoli wants Kobbie Mainoo and see Kobbie Mainoo as a crucial target. To finish this video, guys, I wanted to mention Antoine Semenyo, because for Semenyo, the situation is really heating up these days. So, Tottenham are really interested in Semenyo, but this depends on what the player wants to do. But Tottenham have genuine interest in Semenyo. This week, again, Manchester United and Manchester City called to understand the situation of Semenyo. Between Monday and Tuesday, some calls took place from Man United and from Manchester City to understand the situation of Semenyo. £65 million to disclose. So these three clubs all called. Liverpool already called in November, but Liverpool are now assessing what they want to do in January and also what's going to happen with Mo Salah before deciding on Semenyo. So the situation is really interesting. Many clubs into the race. Again, Tottenham are very aggressive on this one, but this depends on the player. Tottenham are very interested, but this depends on the player. Manchester City and Man United are in contact. Man United have an interest in the player, but they already invested important money on Mateus Cunha, on Brian Mbeumo, so we have to see financially what they can do in terms of £65 million disclosed from Bournemouth, but the final decision is with the player. More than money, more than financial fair play, is the player deciding here. City and United both called in the last 48 hours. Then Tottenham have been spending in the past few days a lot of time in trying to attack the situation for Semenyo, and then there is Liverpool in the background, interested since November, but again, this depends on what happens with Mo Salah and also on Liverpool financial intentions, because maybe they could have different priorities in January. And so guys, let me hear your thoughts on all these stories, from Bruno Fernandez to Semenyo, Kobbie Mainoo, Lewandowski, and also Neymar Jr. Your opinion, guys, here in the comments. Like this video, turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel. See you soon, every single day, here with Fabrizio. Ciao.
3 or 1. Arsenal's performance, though, not so convincing. Do you feel that was kind of coming, though, judging by the performances that have been happening?
They've conceded a couple of, or a few late goals.
Yeah.
You think of Sunderland, Aston Villa, now that Wolves one. It was a huge goal for them, that. I think psychologically more than just the points as well. It almost felt like... I mean, listening to people after the game, it almost felt like they'd lost the league if they would have finished 1-1. That's how they feel at the moment a little bit, you know, with Manchester City coming, putting a bit of pressure on. But I think that the one thing to take from it, even though it wasn't Jesus' goal, it was given as an own goal, you know, the impact he's had coming back in the last few weeks, and I think he's got a big part to play for Arsenal going forward. I really do. They've got a lot of options now in the centre forward position. That's something we're going to get into tonight with Olivier Giroud. So yeah, it should be interesting. I don't feel right now that they've got a real out-and-out world-class striker or player who can play in that position, but they've got a lot of players who have got a lot of qualities that I think they'll have to use all of them between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, their strength and depth is really good, isn't it? You mentioned City. They're coming up along the rails, aren't they? And another exquisite performance from them, you'd have to say, this weekend.
I'd call it exquisite result. I think performance-wise, I think Crystal Palace played really well in the first half and probably would be a little bit disappointed that they didn't go in front. Actually, I think Glasner after the game said that was a better performance from Crystal Palace than he had in the cup final, where they beat, where they beat Man City at Wembley. But Manchester City rode the luck. But when you've got a fella like him up front, it's just one chance and it's a goal. And I mean, he's just absolutely phenomenal, isn't he? You just never think he's going to miss every time he gets a chance. And again, that's a big worry for Arsenal as well going forward.
Yeah, he does make the difference, doesn't he? And then, of course, Aston Villa go on and get the win as well. Wow. Are they in the title race?
They are, yeah, they're there. You know, so you can't not talk about them as title contenders. The run they're on is fantastic. I think the run they're on now, Dave Jones said yesterday that even though Liverpool won the league last year, they'd never been on as good a run as that at any time last season. So the job that Unai Emery and those Aston Villa players are doing, considering the start of the season that they had, which was really poor, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. Can they keep it going? The only way they can keep it going is if that guy keeps going, Morgan Rogers. We said yesterday on Extra Time that For Aston Villa to have a genuine chance of the title, they'll need one of their players to be in the running for PFA Player of the Year, basically be one of the best players in the Premier League. He's the only one who I can see who can actually do that. He won the PFA Young Player of the Year last year. Could he go on and do the double and do it this year?
Yeah, you think he could in the form that he's in?
I think if he keeps going the way he is, certainly had a slow start to the season, but the run he's in right now, if that keeps going, Villa keep winning as well, he's got a great shout.
You've been waxing lyrical about his manager as well, Unai Emery. What makes him so special then? And you think he's, what, the second best manager in the Premier League at the moment?
Listen, there's no doubt Pep Guardiola is arguably the greatest manager in the world right now, maybe ever. So it takes a lot to beat him with his accomplishments. But, you know, you think of Slot, did a brilliant job with the Premier League. You think of Arteta, the job he's done at Arsenal as well. But you think of the body of work Unai Emery's done in different countries, different clubs, the trophies he's won. Yeah, you think of experience and quality, longevity in the game as well. I think there's only Pep who can, as I said, eclipse him.
OK, you mentioned, we saw a bit of Foden, didn't we, in the Manchester City game as well, and you obviously mentioned Rodgers as well. Palmer obviously scored as well at the weekend. How do you see England's number 10 sort of shaping up? Where do you see that?
Wow.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It's really tough. And we actually thought it was tough just because we had Bellingham, Palmer and Foden. No one was really bringing Morgan Rodgers to the party at all, but credit to Thomas Tuchel. He hasn't gone with the big names. He's gone who he thinks is better for his system and how he wants to play. And it's been Morgan Rodgers. Bellingham, I think, had it in the last game, so it'll be really interesting how he tries to fit him in. He's mentioned Phil Foden almost like a false nine or a centre forward at different times in the last camp. But he is a special talent. You know, he was one of the players of the year, I think, a year or so ago as well. Last season, probably wasn't at his best at some stages of the season, but then you look at what he does to PSG in the final of the World Club Cup, and they were the best team in the world last season, so he's a special player as well. And how do you fit them all in? I don't know. That's what he's paid for, Thomas
Exactly,
Tuchel.
he is paid a little bit of money to do that. We were talking about Chelsea as well. What did you make of Enzo Maresca's comments there? Do you think there's something going on behind the scenes that's not quite right there at the moment?
Yeah, something isn't right at Chelsea, whether this has been brewing for a while or it's something just over the last sort of week, 10 days, when you go off the quotes of Maresca and that he hasn't had much support in the last 48 hours on the back of the defeat in Atalanta. So I think if you're a Chelsea fan, they're worrying quotes. Because I'm a big fan of Maresca, and we'll get into this in a bit more detail tonight. And it looks like there's a little bit of a power play starting already, and that never bodes well, especially for a manager.
Yeah, that's not only going to end one way, do you think?
Yes, yeah, that's what it looks like.
OK. Talking of managers, and maybe they are having their own way at the moment, but it's not going all his own way. Thomas Frank, I mean, what's going on there with Spurs at the moment? What did you make of the performance? It was a lot down to Carragher, everyone's blaming. But do you think there are bigger problems for Thomas Frank to worry about other than just his goalkeeper at the moment?
Yeah, there is, but listen, it was never going to be a quick fix at Tottenham.
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas Frank keeps mentioning it. I don't think some supporters like it, but they finished 17th last season. Now, Tottenham weren't the 17th worst or best team in the Premier League last season, but Tottenham should be competing for Champions League places, I would say, in and around that top 6. I think they're round about mid-table right now and they're on a really poor run. And when you look at the underlying numbers that we do on Monday Night Football a lot, they don't bode well as well in terms of scoring goals and creating chances as well. So there's a little bit of sort of scepticism, I think, about at the moment with Tottenham supporters around the manager. And I think it's too early to be talking about his job or anything like that. But no doubt, because it was Daniel Levy who brought him in and he's been moved on, it's not a different ownership, but there's different people above the manager. He will definitely need to improve in the second half of the season in terms of, you know, performance and, of course, results. And don't forget, they're doing really well in the Champions League as well. And they've had some decent results of late. Xavi Simons looks like he's come, you know, to the party, took a bit of time to bed in. He's looked OK the last few games. Don't forget Maddison's being out, a friend of the show.
Yes.
Who did really well on Monday Night Football last week. Kulusevski, a fantastic player as well. So I think Thomas Frank has got enough things or reasons he can look at why you know, it's not as good as it should be right now, and also why it can improve in the second half of the season.
Just finally on him, does he have to get the fans on board? So is it about wins?
Every fan does.
Is it about wins for Spurs fans, or is it about the performances? They always seem to go on about the
fans
performances.
with demand, and we want it all, don't we?
Yeah.
He's come in, listen, we highlighted this a few weeks ago on this show. He's come in
we're a club at Brentford where it's about being difficult to beat, you know, being strong on set pieces, and he's fantastic at that. It's then can he take the next step? We're a, you know, bigger club who expect maybe a little bit more football. They're going to be up against teams who defend deep. Can you break them down? So there's different questions being asked of him as a manager, and he's answered a few of them, maybe not all of them right now for the liking of Spurs supporters, but yeah, that will have to improve as the season goes on.
To the FIFA Best Awards last night, which we just mentioned there. Ousmane Dembélé was named the Men's Player of the Year. Spain's Aitana Bonmati taking the Women's Award. Jamie, not very surprising winners, I guess, but it's always interesting, isn't it? Because you can see who votes for who in these awards.
You can have a field day, you can spend a lot of time doing it. Oh, that's interesting.
So you've done some digging.
Just so people are aware of how it works, every national captain and coach gets to vote for their 1, 2, 3. So Ousmane Dembélé, as you say, won Men's Player of the Year. Overwhelming majority of national captains and coaches had him as their number 1. Harry Kane was actually one of those who had Ousmane Dembélé as number 1. Thomas Tuchel, though, only had him as his third choice. Thomas Tuchel's 1 and 2 were Harry Kane and Cole Palmer, respectively. So very loyal. Read into that what you will. But you can spend a lot of time looking at some interesting patterns emerging, a few quirkier votes. So Cole Palmer, 3 national captains actually voted for Cole Palmer as the best player in the world. Thani Beale of the Cook Islands, Kevin Molino of Trinidad and Tobago, and Jordan Ayew of Ghana and Leicester, of course. They all had Cole Palmer as their number 1. Quite a few votes for Harry Kane here as well in that category. Among them, South Korea captain Heung-min Son, loyal to the last, to his very best pal. A few votes for Mohamed Salah as the best player of the year as well. And this is interesting. Dominic Szoboszlai, captain of Hungary, Wataru Endo, captain of Japan, Andy Robertson, captain of Scotland, all had Salah as their number 1. So a bit of a Liverpool block vote. But Conor Bradley, captain of Northern Ireland, only had Salah as his number 2. So perhaps a reflection on how hard Mo Salah makes right-backs work. I don't know. On the subject of Salah, obviously, as Egypt captain, he had a vote as well. And when it came to voting for Coach of the Year, he only had Arne Slot as his number 2.
Really?
Ooh, interesting.
Who's his number 1?
But maybe don't read too much into that, because his number 1, and a lot of people's number 1, the man who won it was Luis Enrique, Coach of the Year. So Endo and Bradley both had Luis Enrique as the number 1 and Arne Slot as their number 2 as well. Szoboszlai and Robertson, incidentally, though, had Arne Slot as their number 1, so staying loyal to their gaffer. But it's always fascinating to see who voted for whom and whether it's just pals voting for their pals, basically.
And, of course, people are going to pick up on the Salah one, aren't they?
They will. Yeah. These had to be submitted before the end of November, I think, so it was before that explosive rant interview, call it what you want, from Mo Salah a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, he still had Arne Slot as his number 2, and Luis Enrique, you can't really argue with that, can you?
If he wasn't in the top 3, then that would really,
then there really would be headlines, exactly.
Okay. Cheers, Jamie.
We have some injuries, like John and Rodri is not there, so that we'll see. But of course, we want a step to get semi-finals, I think. So at home against Brentford, I don't know how difficult they are. But for obvious reasons, we have seen it this season. But yeah, we're going to play to do it. The previous seasons, we were sometimes at the beginning, we had to face the tough teams, Newcastle and Tottenham away, but we performed really well. And the other ones, we had a lot of injuries. So when I have injuries, be fit for the Premier League or other competitions is more important than that competition. We'll see. I didn't reflect. I was so focused on Madrid and Crystal Palace. Now we have less recovery, 3 days, not 4. Of course, the players didn't play recently, going to play, but we have to play some players and the academy as well, so we will see.
You've made a lot of changes in the other games in the Carragher this year. Are you?
Yeah. Jamie is going to play, and all the players didn't play, Russell is going to play, plus some players today played, and of course then some the academy, because we're going to face, because after that 3 days we have West Ham, and West Ham is, I'm not saying is not the priority, get the semi-finals FA Cup, but normally when we achieve it, it's because we have all the squad, no injuries, and we can rotate, the team is good, and after we got, in the later stages. But when you are 1 game away to the semi-finals, the one competition, you can take it. You never know when it's coming back.
Will Jeremy or anyone else be?
Jeremy's out. Jeremy out, John out, Rodri out. The rest, I think, will be ready. Ciao.
How long is Jeremy out?
I don't know, 2-3 weeks. I don't know, maybe, I think New Year in Sunderland, maybe, to be sure. So, I will see.
Can I just ask about it? So there are changes on transfer. Is How big a achievement is that for some of the players that played in the Leverkusen game? Because it's quite a damaging night to some of the players.
No, it's the same what I said, your colleagues. I know them. They are good. They are top. So the problem when maybe in that game at Leverkusen, we miss a father figure on the pitch. There are players that is not about the quality, it's about how he lead, how being safe. Players that still they don't have for age, for the process, they don't have to say it doesn't matter what happened, said, okay, close to me, this player, I feel safe, I'm going to behave like I am. And when they don't have it, it's like, oh, I have to do it. Because it's a process, it's young, it didn't play much. And I have to find, it's a lesson, I learned that, you have to find the balance. But of course, there are players with a lot of minutes, it's 3 days, now travel, we arrive late in London, Manchester, we don't have much time to recover. And I have to, with the physios, with the doctor, see really, because the important game is West Ham. After West Ham, we have 7 days time to recover, but West Ham is so important.
Martin? I think you mentioned James Trafford there as potentially playing. He's obviously had a difficult few months since he joined, and there's been talk of him potentially looking to go. How important is he for your squad? How important will he still be for your team? What faith do you have in him as a goalkeeper?
He's an incredible keeper. Unfortunately, Gigio is the first keeper, but he's incredible. So I know the position keeper is so special. So I can, during the year, in the one game you can change, but the keeper is special. But of course, he's with us, will be with us this season. And after we see what happens.
He definitely stays in January then.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else?
I don't have any news about that regarding him, agents, or the. Always I said that before Chiqui. Now Obiana, you have his telephone number, you can call him and ask him, but my point of view, I don't know anything. Stay here.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, good night.
From both Fernandez and United yesterday. United fans have to worry about the possibility of their captain feeling a little bit unsettled at the club. What exactly has he had to say?
Yeah, good afternoon, Jess. I mean, I think this is the last thing anyone connected with Manchester United wanted to see, wanted to read today after, as you mentioned, what was, a performance, a result, that felt quite positive in the end, that 4-4 draw with Bournemouth yesterday evening. Now, Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandez, he has had some explosive things to say, talking about feeling not valued by his club and also maybe the club wanting to sell him in the summer. Now, to give you some context, this wasn't done in the mixed zone after the game yesterday. This interview Fernandez has given was actually in November, as I understand it from sources in Portugal. It was by Canal 11, a Portuguese channel affiliated with the Portuguese FA, who have done a two-part sit-down with Fernandez. Part one came out last night, and he had some explosive things to say about his value at United. So we can bring you some of those quotes now. First of all, he says, "I was valued. What values me most has to be my club. Although I feel lately that I'm a little on the tightrope, because in England, a player reaches 30 and they think he has to remodel. I decided not to go, not only for family reasons, but because I genuinely liked the club. From the club, I felt if you go, it's not that bad for us. It hurts me a bit. More than hurting, makes me sad. I'm a player who has nothing to point to. I'm always available. I always give the best of me." Very interesting in that sense, Jess. I mean, really talking about his value and not feeling valued, actually. And also you talk about him saying that he's on the other side of 30. Maybe that also points to his change in position, of course. Ruben Amorim has changed that position from a number 10 into midfield this year, bringing in more attacking, more players full of speed, like the likes of Brian Mbeumo and Mateus Cunha. So you wonder if Fernandez is alluding to that as well. we can also look at some quotes where he talks about a potential move to Saudi Arabia in the summer as well. One where Fernandez rejected that move. And he says the passion and empathy for the club were the same, only it gets to a point where money is more important to them than you. The club wanted me to go away. I told the directors that I don't think they had the courage to make that decision because the coach wanted me. But if I said I wanted to leave, even though the coach wanted me to stay, the club would let me. Now, this is really interesting, Jess, when you hear Fernandez talk about the club wanting him to go, because Fernandez actually did an interview in October with the British press ahead of his 300th appearance for Manchester United, and actually said at that point that Ruben Amorim wanted him to stay despite interest from the likes of Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal especially. And he also said in that interview actually that he felt the club wanted him to stay and be part of their project going forward. Now, as we understand it, after these quotes have come out, our sources are telling us that Manchester United are adamant they want their captain to stay at the club. They very much see him as part of their long-term future. And also we understand that the leadership of United have been pretty adamant throughout the summer that Fernandez is not for sale. What I would just caveat all of this with is in that interview in October with the British press, not the Portuguese, but the British press, he also did say, though, that he won't talk about his future going forward until after next summer's World Cup. So it does raise questions whether Fernandez, whose contract goes till the summer of 2027, with a further option of another year, whether he will still be here next season. Very, maybe worrying for some United fans.
Yeah, definitely. And something for us to keep an eye on over the next 18 months or so, Dan. So I mentioned that rousing, kind of entertaining performance by Manchester United against Bournemouth last night at Old Trafford, but a sense of frustration because for multiple times they did lead that game against the Cherries. Where does that result, that 4-4 draw, leave the manager Ruben Amorim now, do you think?
Yeah, it's very interesting, Jess. Well, first of all, what I will say is, although they didn't get the win and it might be 2 wins in 7 league games, it was a very different performance to the previous 2 home performances at Old Trafford when you compare the draw against West Ham, the loss to Everton against 10 men. And from what I saw, speaking to United fans after the game, I mean, you saw a lot of actual jubilant faces. Yes, disappointed not to get the win, but you have to say at least United were entertaining. They scored great goals. But more importantly, and I think what Amorim will be more pleased about, although he looks disappointed there, is they were much more competitive in their duels defensively as well, winning the ball back quickly. And I think for all the criticism towards Ruben Amorim for being stubborn with his formation, with his tactics, he showed yesterday actually it seemed to be more of a 4-4-2. Maybe you could say that's a bit more fluid. But he clearly changed his system and formation for this game, showing that he is willing to adapt his tactics going forward. So I think that for fans and everyone connected with the club, they'll feel positive about that. I think the only caveat and the only maybe feeling of sadness was seeing how well they were attacking, where they really struggled last season, Jess, is that the likes of Ahmad and Brian Mbeumo, United fans aren't going to see this system maybe at its best, as we saw last night, for a good month, as of course they're going to AFCON. So how Amorim adapts this team, who comes in for the likes of Mbeumo. Šeško is now fit after his knee injury, but who comes in for Ahmad, especially on that right, is going to be very interesting to see what Ruben Amorim does going forward. I mean, they have a huge game against Aston Villa on Sunday, who are flying themselves. So the question still for this United team to raise, but I think after yesterday's result and performance, maybe a lot more positive going forward than compared to the last previous weeks.
Yeah, just a little matter of going all the way to Villa Park against a surging Aston Villa on Sunday.
The game, they need to be more efficient up front, but you need to be also be more efficient in your box. That's where you win games, in the opponent box and in your box. So they need to be more stronger, but it's not about only the defense, it's the whole team. And but I've seen great things. I mean, they created so many chances, and I really enjoy watch the game. But yeah, small margins. I'm not sure. I don't know. When you're at home and you win 4-3 and what, 5 minutes to go, you need to put the game, like close the game, as he said. and he should be very, very frustrated.
He clearly is. He says it's not about the tactics and the formation, it's the details, which is costing, it seems, Manchester United time and time again right now, Jamie. And this inability to keep clean sheets is really hurting any progress.
Yes, it's a big problem for them. Now, they had problems at both ends of the pitch last season. We highlighted before the game, they're improving in attack. We saw that again tonight. Some of the attacking players for Manchester United were fantastic. They had a lot of young defenders out there as well tonight, which didn't help.
You're and Aiden Heaven, yeah.
Yeah, and listen, I've been there as a young defender. You make a mistake more often than not, it ends up in the back of your goal, and that was the case tonight. Because even though the game's finished 4-4 and Bournemouth probably should have won it at the end, Manchester United were by far the better team. And that was the first time in a long time, or certainly the first time under Ruben Amorim, when I've felt like I was watching what Manchester United should be, where it's just wave after attack, wave after wave, there's counter-attacks, and almost the opposition feel like they can't keep them out, and you're getting sucked back. I've been there as a defender. You're getting sucked back into that box in front of the Stretford end. You can't get out. And then it was felt inevitable when it went 3-3, I think, that United would go and make it 4-3. It just felt that, you'd seen that story happen so often before as players. We've seen that before, haven't we, Olivier?
And I think we need to give credit to that team, Bournemouth, who didn't close the game and who attack like they were at home, like they play with freedom, like fearless. And we need to give credit to this team, which was really efficient up front. I mean, they to compare with the XG, I think they made the most of it.
They certainly did. Clean sheets, 1 still this season, and only 6 in the entire time that Ruben Amorim has been in charge of Manchester United, 43, and that is right up there with, unfortunately, some of the worst of the clean sheet ratios that we've seen in the Premier League across a 40-game minimum. And I suppose the big thing that's striking when you look at the graphic, Jamie, it's not so much the managers, it's the clubs that they're in charge of.
Yeah, and listen, Ozzy Ardiles almost became famous, didn't he? For the front five and not really caring about defending so much at that stage. But for Manchester United to be there, that's awful, really. And also what makes it worse is Ruben Amorim's system. We talk about it a lot, I know we do. But more often than not, teams who play sort of a back three or a back five, they get pushed back. Maybe they struggle to actually create or be on the front foot, but they can make it difficult for the opposition. So that needs to improve very quickly.
Let's start. What was the overriding emotion after that one?
It's really difficult to explain. Really difficult, no? There were moments, even in the stoppage time, where you wanted the game to finish because it's okay. At the end, you take 1 point, but the next 10 seconds you were wait, because we are very close of scoring, and then the momentum goes for us, and then you lose the ball, and then maybe it's better it finishes. A lot of up and downs. Normally 4-4, they always say, no, the managers don't like this kind of games because there are huge mistakes. It's 1 point for us, it's not a lot, but we also enjoy the game. We've gone behind. I think if you ask me about the football side, I think United has been much better than us the first 20 minutes until we changed Alex Jimenez, and then we control better this side with Amat and Mbeumo, and from there I think I finished quite happy with the performance, with the mistakes, with especially the second goal. We conceded a corner when we were playing better, probably with the 1-1 and finishing strong the first half, and you concede this sloppy goal. But overall I finished happy, apart from these 20 minutes where they've started much better than us.
And what was the sort of reason behind that slow start? You just seem to be, they seem to have much more energy than you, and you seem to be off.
Yes, we haven't matched up well tactically until they were punishing us a lot, especially with Matt and Mbeumo, and until we haven't really put the duels that were better for us. I think Alex Jimenez has played really well, defending with Amat almost like a fullback, but then being very dangerous offensively also. But it has cost us, especially me, 15 minutes until all the matchups were good for us, no? And for that moment, we're already losing 1-0.
And I mean, to start the second half as he did and take the lead as he did again. Obviously, Evan Nilsson getting his first goal since August. You must have been really pleased with him, but also the start from the team.
Yeah, we've scored 4, we conceded 4. From the positive side, also the offensive players have scored. No, Evan Nilsson has scored, Kropi has scored, and two tough players that we need them, to be there in the score sheet, and I think it's good for their confidence. Obviously, we need to look at the goals also we conceded. Especially the second one, I think is very sloppy from outside. The corner is the header. I think is too soft. Our marks, even it's not a great header, but we concede the goal. And after I complained about the third goal, I don't think it's never a handball from Adam. It's the shoulder, but it's true that after Bruno scores an incredible goal.
And with the second goal, you said,
yes,
great goal. Petrovic presumably feels he can do better with that.
Yes, I think so. We were talking to him, and probably he feels he could. But it's a difficult one. Now you see like in slow motion, and he's there and could save it. Yes, but everything happens very quickly, and the reaction. I think it's like the big chance we had from Brooksy, the header. I think Lamens, he puts the leg straight away. It's a reflex thing. He saves it, but sometimes it's a matter of nothing.
And just on the character of the team, obviously, to go ahead at 3-2 and then go behind at 4-3 to then get yourselves back in it at 4-4, you must have been really pleased with how they responded to that.
Yes, I think for both teams. Also, they've gone behind and they've reacted, and I think we've gone behind more, I would say. But I think has been both teams quite open. We were taking risks from the beginning, leaving spaces behind. You never expect this kind of game, but it could happen, because both teams, I think we are, especially this season, we are having chances. We are also conceding goals, and for us, I repeat, it's not a lot, 1 point. I feel like from Chelsea and United, 2 good performances overall and 2 points is not a lot, but I think we can use a lot of things now and try to get the 3 points in the next one.
Just funny for me on Tyler Adams. How was he first off, and how much did that sort of disrupt you in the early stages?
I think it's the worst news from the game, definitely. I think he is the knee twist. The knee is not. I think it's just the MCL. But we have to check him and see if it's just a small sprain or something bigger. It's a clear play. Obviously, it's not what you want. I think it was second or third minute. To lose a player like Tyler for us is massive, especially when you don't have Lewis Cook suspended. So Alex Scott again, like against Chelsea, has to play in that holding midfielder position, and I think he has done it really well. But it's bad news for us because Tyler is massive for us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Andoni, you mentioned the tactical tweak you made in the first half. Were you surprised at all by how United set up today, or maybe by how far Ahmad had pushed up? It felt like more 4-4-2.
No, I think it's the same system they always play, but they adapt depending who you put to mark them. At the end, it's a very flexible system, depending the players, the outside players, depending if you mark them with a fullback, they will go lower. If you mark them with a winger, they will go higher, and it's also the positions in the middle, 6-8, Casemiro, Bruno, even us with Taff, Tyler, we were changing 2 against 2, but it's not 2 against 2, there are different. And until we haven't matched up well for us, I think we suffered in this first 15, 20 minutes, something like this. And after, I think when we put Alex there, helping Adrian in that side, I think we felt much more solid without the ball. And when you feel solid, normally you attack also better. No, but it's true that has cost us some minutes, yes.
Mr. Uriel, Anto Semenyo gets a goal today after breaking a little dry spot. What did you make of his performance?
Anton is playing well. The other day he scored also disallowed by nothing, offside. I think he's been a threat for us. Today he showed also personality, good aerially, winning duels, and I think he's in a good moment. I don't analyze Antoine just because he hasn't scored last, I don't know how many games. I think it's about team performance, how much he helps us, and the same with all the others. Evan Nilsson had scored just 1 goal before today, but he was playing well and he was being a threat, and we trust him, and is the same, yes.
What would you say your attack's greatest strength is at this point?
Sorry?
What would you say your greatest strength is when you attack?
Greatest strength, I don't know. I think we are a team that normally creates chances. Not this season, not normally. The time I've been with this team, we create chances. It's true that we focused this season more in our defensive side because we basically changed all the defense and the keeper. So we've probably emphasized more in things that we could see today. No, we need to improve and we need to become definitely more solid. But I wouldn't like to lose the offensive threat that we've always had.
And Noni, I think there were a couple of times in this game where a goal was scored when you had a player ready to make a change inside. Yes. When a game is changing so quickly, so often, how hard is it to keep focus on what you want from your team? And sometimes you feel like just letting them get on with it.
Yes, it has happened also against and for. Against because we conceded and we were thinking in doing a sub, and also I think the 3-2 or the 4-4 maybe. We were going to do one sub, and then we decided to change it, and you have to adapt very quickly to the changes because it's not the same scenario when you are losing that you are drawing, and I think it has happened the same for United because when you are losing they have to put very offensive players, and then this system doesn't work because now you are ahead and you have to adapt. But it has been this kind of game, crazy game. I think even in the stoppage time, we were having the chances, but then if you lose the ball, you feel, okay, they are going to come here 3 against 3 in behind, and it has been this kind of games, yes. It's difficult to explain.
Can you enjoy it, though, when you run this kind of app?
I've enjoyed it. They always say the managers don't enjoy 4-4s, and I know we've made mistakes, but also there are moments where I prefer 4-4 than 0-0, actually, yes, even if it's the same point. I prefer because at the end is the same, so it gives us things to improve, yes, definitely, but also things that I think we can use positively.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Go on, Igor. Good evening, Ruben. How do you even begin to dissect or analyse a game?
Yeah, it was a fun game for everyone at home. I think we lost, if you look at the game, you can think that we lost the 2 points in the second half. I think we lost the 2 points in the first half. We should have more goals. It should be a different result in the half-time. Similar to Nottingham, we suffered 2 goals really fast, but we managed to get back, to take the advantage again. And then we need to close the game. It was a fun game to watch. Of course, there is a feeling of scoring 4 goals and not winning the game.
Appreciate that will probably be frustrations defensively, but offensively, as you mentioned, I mean, the goal threat that you have now compared to last season, that must be a positive.
Yeah, I think people enjoy more to see Manchester United this season, but we need to put both things together. Sometimes closing the games is so important to give more a different juice to everything that we did really well.
So, Ruben, do you take anything from the fact that a lot of people feel that is like Manchester United, that is the tradition of Manchester United to keep going forward, to try and score goals?
Yeah, if you understand a little bit, if you follow the club like I follow Premier League for so long, you have not just the duty to try to win the games, but the way you try to win the games is so important for the fans. And of course they are desperate to win, but they all are also, I feel that they are desperate to be inspired when they come to Old Trafford. Today was inspiring, I think, because of Bournemouth, but in the end that's that feeling of frustration, not winning the game.
Sonia? Ruben, I think it's 5 times now this season that you've gone 1-0 up but not gone on to win the game. Do you think that's a mentality issue with the squad, or do you think it's just...
Yeah, it's understanding of the moments of the game, understanding that a lot of goals it's after the half-time We need to start the second half in a different way. So it's everything together. It's not a mentality thing. It's the understanding of the game and how to play the game in different moments.
Jamie and then Rob. Ruben, dare I ask, were you playing before at the back, but you're attacking?
No, that is for you to discuss, not for me. I will say the same thing. You can play with the same players. It looks like one thing is another thing. Now, guys, is for you to, and I know that you guys know that I trained this week the back four. I don't know how, but that is a good thing for you guys to discuss this week.
Rob?
You're obviously scoring a lot of goals. That I think only City have scored more goals even in the Premier League this season, but not keeping as many clean sheets. So I'm sure you will like. Is there something particular defensively that you think is missing for the moment?
I think we are pressing better. We are controlling better the game far from our goal. We are lacking of quality when we defend our goal. It's something that we need to address, of course. I think it's different when you suffer so many goals and the opponent doesn't have the same amount of, not even near, that we create to the opponent. Is really frustrated, but we need to work a lot in the way we defend the box.
Yeah, it's good. Pete, and then last question for Ty.
Hi Ruben. After so long of being able to just make one change each week because you're not playing as many games as normally the case for United, how do you think you're equipped now for 3 big players to be missing for so long, and Casemiro will be suspended as well? How do you think you'll be able to make some change?
It's an opportunity for everyone. We'll be ready for the challenge. We already knew that can happen to any team. A lot of teams are going to lose players. A lot of team has injuries. We need to just go for the next game with the responsibility to win the game, to fight, and we will try to find different ways of creating chances and scoring goals.
Hi, Ruben. You just mentioned the quality of defending your own goal there. This club spent a lot of money on the attack in the summer, and it's clearly worked from what we can see. That's improved. Do you need to spend some money defensively now, do you think, to improve this?
No, I think we have talent in the back. We have quality players in the back. We just need to be better as a team defending. But that is a good point, that at least show that we took care of the offense. We are improving. But I think it's not the same situation. We have the characteristics. We just need to work together and to improve our players because they have quality to defend better.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Change things?
Well, I suppose it depends, how well Mo Salah's playing. But if Mo Salah plays when he comes back from the way he did at the weekend, I think he's got a great chance of playing a lot of football still in a red shirt, of course. And the irony of it is, if he wasn't actually going to AFCON now, he'd probably be playing for Liverpool in the next game because he was fantastic when he came on at the weekend. And the great thing about that at the weekend was, on the back of us speaking about Mo Salah at the Leeds game, we're talking about an interview he did. Okay, is that his last act for Liverpool? Now, we don't know if this is his last act, but isn't it nice that we can put this graphic in and say, right, Mo Salah, more goal involvements than anybody in Premier League history. We're talking about, as I said last week, a world-renowned superstar, a superstar of the Premier League, a superstar for Liverpool. And I'm just thinking, maybe, who knows what's going to happen in the next few weeks when he's at AFCON. But it's much better that we're looking at that rather than dissecting an interview outside Ellen Road, basically, in terms of what is he doing as a Liverpool player, and is this his last sort of contribution?
Well, we probably need to just clean up this sort of, if it is to be his final chapter or this latest chapter of this story, Jamie. I think there was a lot of talk in here in the studio last week about that being his final act. And now that he came on in that after 26 minutes and made such an impression in the game, are we going to see Mo Salah back for the rest of the season?
I don't see Mo Salah playing for Liverpool next season. The big thing in my mind is, are we going to see Mo Salah from now to the end of the season? Now, we know he's now going to AFCON. AFCON will finish mid-January. Now, it's obvious he's got an issue with the manager. And I want to give credit to the manager. He could have easily said, no, Mo Salah's not involved for this game against Brighton. He'll go to AFCON, we'll sort it when he comes out. But no, he thought, it's bigger than me. It's about the team. And it's more important Mo Salah's on the bench. And he made a contribution in the second half. But last week, I was giving advice to Mo Salah and his agent. And I'm going to do it again. Because what we saw at the end of the game against Brighton was Mo Salah, a lap of appreciation, if you like. A little bit emotional. You know, with the cop there, he's probably not sure himself whether that's his last time at Anfield. But I would, if he's thinking about moving on, I would urge him to think again. And the reason I would say that is, if Mo Salah is to move on from Liverpool now, the talk is he would go to the Saudi League, which is talked about over there, but probably nowhere else except when the transfer window's open. Now, Mo Salah's not going to move and leave Liverpool to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid. We just mentioned the Saudi League. Now, Liverpool, in the second half of the season, they could get to an FA Cup final. They could get to a Champions League final. Can you imagine Mo Salah in Saudi playing for whatever team he's playing for, watching Liverpool come out in Budapest in a Champions League final? You come back at the end of January, you've got 3 months. OK, you might not get on with the manager. You'll start some games, you'll be sub some games, you won't come on in certain games. But also, what we see there then, it was nicer than what we saw at Ellen Road. But does Mo Salah deserve more than that as a Liverpool player? He deserves a guard of honour. He deserves a mosaic in the Kop. He deserves to be able to bring his family, his wife and his kids on the pitch in his last game and actually be celebrated for what he's done as a Liverpool player. So put your differences with the manager to the side and just think, 3 or 4 months at Liverpool. OK, the worst thing that's going to happen is I get this big send-off. The best thing that could happen is I'm walking out with my teammates in Budapest in the Champions League final. And if he was sat in Saudi Arabia watching Liverpool do that, I think he'd really regret it.
Olivier, you are 39 and still playing. Mo Salah is 33.
Still young.
Yeah. Well, when you were at that stage, I don't know if you can remember, what are the things that you are thinking about when you are making big decisions like Mo Salah, it feels like, has in front of him?
I was still hungry for more trophies, more wins, more competition. When you're passionate of this game, you know, you just want to carry on enjoying the game as long as you can.
At the highest level?
At the highest level. Everybody is different. I don't know if you ask Jamie, maybe it's not the same, but I believe, yeah, Mo Salah deserves an amazing end with Liverpool, with what he achieved in his career for this club. And I want to see him in another big club in Europe, or maybe staying in Liverpool. I don't know. I hope this episode, and I think from the manager, it was nice to sort the things out before he went to the AFCON. And then we restart a fresh start after the AFCON. And why not to win some trophies? But I still want to see Mo Salah perform in Europe, if you ask me.
Your next big test, not fun to play against, as far as you're concerned.
Yes, it's hard to play against that team. I think it's hard to play any game in Premier League, but the intensity that they put in every game, they have a top manager that is really, really smart. They have a special player. They have very good players, but they have a special player in Semenyo that can play both sides, both feet. I know Evan Nielsen quite well. It's so smart, and the technical ability of Evan Nielsen is really good. So it's going to be a fun game, but a really tough game.
Talk to me about the job that Andoni has done down there, though, in the short time that he's been there, and made them look an elite team.
I think it's not just the team, but if you look at the individual, he's improving them And the way you look at some of that players, you think that they can play, with all due respect, with Bournemouth in the different level, and Champions League level. So that is the job of a great manager.
On Monday Night Football, after your win against Wolves, there was a conversation about, do you look at Manchester United at the moment and think 1 defeat in 9 or 2 wins in 6? How do you look at it?
I always look at the worst side, because I think it's my job.
2 wins in 6 then?
Yes. But again, the most important thing, we should have more points, but we need to look why we are struggling in some games to hold the advantage, and even the way we play the game. So I just look always it's my job to look at the worst side, not the best side.
Supporters will look at it though, and they'll look at the league table, and there's a real opportunity this season, as you well know, for European football. As a coach, at what point do you look at a season and think, reflect, what can be achieved going into the second half? Because we're approaching the midway point now, aren't we?
I don't know, because we have been so inconsistent sometimes that it's hard to predict something. But again, one of the good things is that we addressed, and in the summer we addressed the lack of goals, and we are scoring goals. So something we are addressing, we are improving. We need to stop suffering so many goals, because sometimes it's not so many opportunities for the opponent to score goals against us. And that is also my job, not just to look at the focus on just the results, but also what is happening on the pitch. And again, I think we could be in a different position.
Has it allowed you though, because you're not in European competition this season, has it given you the time to put this right in readiness for when you do return to European competition?
Yeah, I think we are going to be more prepared for European games that we were last year. And last year we were playing. So if we look in that side of things, we will be in a different situation to cope with both games during the week. But we are taking advantage of this time to train. We are working on several things. I think we need to change in some games the way we play. So we are trying to work on that, because when you go to Europe, you don't have time to work on nothing. You just have to prepare the games and to prepare the physical aspect of the players.
When you talk about having that time to prepare, to get ready for something, and you preparing yourself to come to the Premier League as a coach, and learning the English language and the different accents and understanding the sense of humour, how did you do that?
I know that is hard. You have to experience, especially in Premier League, and when you come for Premier League, it's not just the fact of you as a manager, you are coming for the best league in the world. You come maybe for the best club with the most attention by everyone. So it's a big gap. So you can prepare, and I've always felt when in Lisbon in the final year, I was thinking I need to leave to grow. I felt prepared, but of course when you have the experience, you are learning a lot of things that you didn't know. So I think I'm more prepared now than I was 1 year ago.
Did you listen to a lot of things? And maybe I'm going down a pathway here, like podcasts, radio, that sort of thing, to articulate the language.
Yeah, of course. I did that since I was sporting 3 years ago, because first of all, I had the same rules. I was not listening nothing about the Portuguese league, because I was protecting myself. And my way of doing that, I loved always Premier League. So I watch every games. I remember to listen. I think he's not famous. He's famous here, but he's not. Talk Sports, with all the accents, with Simon Jordan ranting all the time. I imagine what he says about me. So,
do you listen now?
No. No way. So that was one way. Every press conference of the managers, especially in the top managers, I listen in my car going home. So I try to prepare myself. But again, you need to live everything to know how you should behave in every situation.
It kind of leads me on to now asking, who was your favourite then Premier League manager at that point you were listening to? Who did you enjoy the most?
To listen, I think Klopp is really funny. Everyone listen. Guardiola is a reference for everyone. Mourinho had his time here, so I try to listen everyone and try to understand everyone. So it was not just the top managers, but most of the time it was the top managers that I listen.
Would you like to have contested against Jurgen?
I don't need more competition. I just need to survive this one. I think we are especially this season, I think is more competitive than ever. Everyone is really smart. Every club can buy good players. Sometimes it's not top players in people's minds, but if you have, and I come from a different world, if you have 40 to pay for any player is a big player. So I don't need more competition. I have competition enough.
But it does seem very open, doesn't it, this season in the Premier League?
Yeah, it's going to be like that, I think, until the end, especially for European football. Even if you see, of course, Wolverhampton is struggling, but the rest, everything is so near that everything is going to change until the end.
Do you still kickbox?
Not anymore. I don't have a lot of time. I have a bag here. I use it 3 times, but I'm not doing in this moment.
I was just thinking of the personal sacrifices as well that you would make to try and achieve something so good with Manchester United, and what managers and coaches have to sacrifice to be the very best.
I think it's hard to talk in sacrifice in my life. I have everything. I can spend time with my kids. Of course, I'm not going to have my kids for Christmas, but it's an option. So it's completely different. There are people around the world that are not spending time with their kids in Christmas because they cannot do it. But for me, it's an option. It's my option to have in this moment.
But you make those decisions because you want to succeed.
It's clearly, until I'm here, I'm the guy that suffers more, believe it or not, with the defeats and the draws of Manchester United.
How do you handle them?
It's easy to prepare the next one and to believe in myself that I will be able to change things and to try to everything that I said, especially to the board and to the fans, and try to do, because you cannot promise results, but I will continue to do everything I promise to everyone here.
Is it something you take home?
Yeah, sometimes it's getting harder not to think about football at home. I think that is normal, because you are thinking, but I can be a normal dad at home.
Who we've heard from for the first time since his outspoken comments on Saturday. Maresca said it was the worst 48 hours of his time at the club and was pressed to expand on those comments when facing the media today.
Just wanted to ask you, the comments you made on Saturday evening obviously created a lot of headlines and a lot of interest. What did you mean exactly by those comments, and what did you want to achieve?
I already spoke about that, and I don't have nothing to add.
But obviously, what you said...
It's Cardiff tomorrow, please.
But you don't want to address at all the fact what you said?
I already spoke about that, and I think I was quite clear. No more than that.
But with all due respect, I don't think you were clear, because you said something that is open to a lot of interpretations. People are thinking, did he mean that he's got a problem with the media? Does he have a problem with what people are saying on television? Or is it more serious? Does he have a problem with the sporting directors? Does he have a problem with one of the owners at Chelsea? Obviously, when you make those comments, you have to accept the fact that people are going to talk about them.
I respect your opinion and I respect people's opinion, but again, I don't have nothing to add, and my focus is just on tomorrow game, that we can achieved the third semi-final in 18 months since I joined the club.
It's undeniable that you've done a fantastic job at Chelsea, but it's also undeniable that when you're the Chelsea head coach, when you speak in public, people are going to be very interested in what you say. And everybody in the world of football is now saying the Chelsea head coach has a bad relationship with the Chelsea sporting directors, he has a bad relationship with the Chelsea owners.
We are in an era where everyone can say what they think. I respect people's opinion. I respect your opinion. But again, I don't have nothing to add. My focus is just on tomorrow again.
But it's not my opinion. It is you've opened a can of worms.
I'm not saying your opinion. I said all of you, people's opinion. I respect, no problem. We are in a moment that everyone can say what they think, and I already answered to the question. Just focus for me on tomorrow, and what I said after Everton game, I already spoke about that, and I don't have nothing to add.
So are you happy about the fact that people are saying you have a bad relationship with the sporting directors, you have a bad relationship with one of the owners, you don't like feedback from them? Because you said something extraordinary. You said this was the worst 48 hours of your time at the club, and then you didn't explain that. You don't think Chelsea supporters deserve an explanation?
I said after the game that I love Chelsea support. They deserve the best. And again, I don't have nothing to add.
Okay, are you happy being the Chelsea head coach? Are you committed to Chelsea 100%?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, let's now join our chief correspondent, Kobbie Mainoo, who had that exchange with Maresca. Kobbie, good afternoon to you. So Maresca, given the opportunity to perhaps diffuse this situation, if that's the right word, but it looks as though he's chosen not to.
Yeah, interesting strategy from Enzo Maresca. Look, he's a free man. He can do what he wants. It's up to him how he answers questions. But I would have thought the best line for him to take today would have been to come out and maybe explain some of his comments and say, look, they were made in the heat of the moment. I was emotional after a game. Everything is fine at Chelsea. Of course, like all clubs, we have ups and downs. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But overall, we are all united. There are no issues behind the scenes here, and we are fully focused on doing as well as possible this season in all the competitions we're in. But he decided to do something different, which is to not answer any questions and just keep saying, I said what I said on Saturday, I have nothing to add. The only problem with doing what he did is that it creates a vacuum where people can interpret what he said on Saturday. And the interpretation that most people have come to is that he doesn't have a good relationship at the moment with the Chelsea sporting directors and with the owner of the club, who is effectively in charge of the club at the moment. And Enzo Maresca had the opportunity today to come out and say that no, that is not the case. There are no issues in his relationships with the people above him, but he chose not to do that. And I think that means that this story is going to run and run, when he could have nipped it in the bud, when he could have come out and just said, look, I said what I said. It was in the heat of the moment. Lots of people say things in press conferences straight after the games. I don't necessarily regret what I said, but let's move on. We're all united. He didn't do that.
Because, Kobbie, what do you think the view of the Chelsea hierarchy will be then after Maresca's comments?
Well, look, I think everything that Enzo Maresca says and does is analysed. I know people at Chelsea will obviously be watching that news conference. I don't know. I can't speak for the people at the club, but I would assume that they would have thought that he would come out and try and draw a line under this and give some kind of explanation. No matter what kind of PR crisis situation you're in, there's always a path that you can take. There's always a strategy to get through it. But by simply doing what he did today is going to make people talk and talk more about the fact that there could be an issue between Enzo Maresca and the people he works for, because he's left it hanging in the air. Let's go back to what he actually said on Saturday. He said, the past 48 hours have been the worst of my time at Chelsea. Me and the team are not getting support from many people. And all people have been asking him is, what did you mean, Enzo? Who are the many people? Is it the owner? Is it the sporting directors? Is it Chelsea fans? Is it fans on social media? Is it newspaper reporters? Is it TV pundits? And what he's doing is refusing to answer, refusing to clarify his comments. And that means when there's a vacuum, people are going to come to their own interpretations. And the interpretation that most people are coming to is that there is an issue behind the scenes at Chelsea, an issue that Enzo Maresca doesn't want to talk about in public.
And Kev, I know this is probably an impossible question to answer, but what is your take on it? Do you think Enzo Maresca does still have a future at the club in the long term?
Well, look, I asked him if he was happy being the Chelsea head coach. He said, yes, he was. I asked him if he was committed to the club. He said he was committed to the club. But look, we're talking about Chelsea. Chelsea managers historically, if they're not successful, if they're not delivering on the pitch, they don't last very long. Now, I think, my personal opinion, is that Enzo Maresca is doing a very good job. He's got a lot of credit in the bank. He won 2 trophies last season. He got Chelsea back into the Champions League. They still could have a very successful season this time around. But having said all that, there does still appear to be an issue behind the scenes.
OK, Kavi, for now, thank you very much.